or adjustments to the agenda? Are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda?
Can I have one very late today, just an update on the buyouts? We got an announcement from FEMA today. That was really exciting. Formalized announcement from FEMA.
I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight without it. So,
Buyouts, we got. Perfect. Yeah, it's a big win for Johnson. It's exciting. I think it actually should be publicized and using this. So part of the meeting today was that we use the notice at the select board meeting to get the message out so that any residents are aware of what's about to happen to their properties if they are listening. It would take 2 minutes. I could even do it under public comment or less.
We can add it
Yeah.
later. If there's action.
There's no action item, just a.
Yep, that's right.
to pick a representative.
Later on.
Later on. Like it.
Yep.
So should.
Okay. Are there any other additions or adjustments to the agenda?
Can we?
All right,
Yeah.
it'll be under public comment.
Okay. Thank you.
Hearing none, we're gonna move on to our next item, which is review invoices and orders. I believe those are going around right now. No large on those, and we'll move on to our next item, which is public comment. Is there any comment from the public? Could you please come up and at least, so you're not yelling loud, the microphone's up here that picks up vocal, and Linda's blocking the vocal.
My name is Ronald Dixon. We actually own property on the River
You
Road.
can sit down if you'd like to.
Okay. We own property on River Road East, and we've been having a lot of troubles with our neighbors. To start out with, the Eldreds continuously say that they have a right of way through our property. And they do, but not where they've been traveling for the X amount of years. We bought this property 5 years ago and we've been cleaning it up. And they're right away, and when I tried to explain to them, they continuously called the state to harass us, and they've been actually, them and a lot of other people have been trying to drive us off our property. But their map, which is at the town clerk's office, if they'd actually go and read it, and this is their surveyed map, would show their right of way, but not way up where they're traveling. They need to fix their driveway so that they can get emergency services in there. We've tried to explain it to them, but as I've explained, the joke is that Frank told me I'm number one. I was hoping that we could maybe ask RJ, the fire chief, to explain it to them that, you know, they really do need to be able to get the fire truck to their house. But it's not just that why I'm here tonight. There's quite a few things. We've been having vandals come to our house. And at night while we're sleeping, they've destroyed our other car, my car, all of our motors, sugar in our tanks, and we couldn't understand who it was until we had one of the Judd boys, we call them boys, but they're young men, that admit that it's him and his cousins. It's Zach Judd, Parker Judd, Harley Bidwell, Brent Bidwell, and their two older cousins are coming down and sugar in our tanks, and they're using their four-wheelers and motorcycles to race up and down the road and do this. they told us there was nothing that we could do about it. And unfortunately, even when we called the police, contacted the police, they don't call us back. The police don't. They don't contact us. Hasn't been a very good scene out there. The four-wheelers are just ripping up the road. If you drive up and down, you'd probably save a lot of money on grading and stuff because of they're just racing up and down the road, and there's got to be some kind of rules set for the four-wheelers. Very unhappy with it. We can't sell the property until we correct a whole bunch of things, or we would actually just get rid of it. Tried last winter to get rid of it, but we're not willing to give it away. We've got the total of 220,000 invested here, and most of it in trash removal and replacing the car that they destroyed. We lost 40,000 there. Our generator, our chainsaw, sugaring tanks, cutting our electrical systems. We're not sure what to do. We know who it is because, like I said, sat to our table laughing at us and saying there's nothing you can do. The other one stood down on the road and told me there's nothing we're gonna do also. The police don't respond. They don't call back. I've even stopped up and tried filing a formal complaint. Watson, which is probably, most people call him Sergeant Watson, and I call him an idiot. There's no police, there's no representation. And it seems like the drug dealers here, that's what it is a drug problem, all in all. They just are ruling the town in a bad way. We're very discouraged out there. I mean, it's a nice private piece of land, but it really isn't worth anything when people are gonna destroy your property and continue to. And when you say something, you can't even call the police. I mean, even the bald detective with glasses didn't get back to me. I left a personal message for him. I thought he was an outstanding person and an outstanding cop, but didn't call back. No call, no show. Just like I called Roger Marcoux himself, tried to get him to respond. Nothing. He actually spends most of his time in Florida, I guess, as far as I can tell. The drug problem's tremendous here. I thought it was bad in Berry City when we left there. I had a bunch of apartment buildings and got rid of it all because got sick of the drugs, and we thought legalizing marijuana would help, but then all that does is they grow pot in the apartments. I suggest that maybe you call the state reps and ask to see if you can get them down here to get you some money to help deal with the drug problem. I drive by the building down here, there's an Narcan dispenser. All I can think of is, wow, if we would have known this was all here, we wouldn't have even bothered. We would have let the property go for tax sale like it was. I mean, we're not sure what to do. The vandalism by the judge and the Bidwells, it's just horrible, and can't get anybody from the police station to even call back. They admitted to even damaging the McClure farm. You go look, all the motors down there, the reason they're gone is because Dak thought it was funny to sugar them. You know, it's a huge loss for not only the farmer, but the town revenue and taxes, you know, because he's selling his farm now, you know. I'm sure you get property taxes from it, but it's not like the income taxes that you're gonna lose from having another business sell. And I've really realized how drastic, I mean, it's easy to sit and watch them come and go out of these buildings. The boy came and had to run down the road on his four-wheeler tonight at 80 miles an hour to go get his fix. I don't get it. Nobody can't even call the police. When somebody was shooting out there last fall at night, I called the sheriff's department and they wanted to refer me. I thought I was at a doctor's office. Very discouraged, not sure what to do. Like I said, not even Roger Marcoux would call us back. Very discouraged. We're trying to move forward again. I just don't know what to do because of they want us to leave the property because everybody on the road sells drugs. Everybody but me and Sandy. And it's very discouraging. And I don't get how to get rid of the problem. Anybody that wants to stop out and give us suggestions certainly can. Tom has our phone number. Tom's been so great at talking to us. I know you're busy and I'm sorry, Tom, for being a pain in the butt. But we don't know what to do. And like I said, the Eldreds, they're screaming that they have a right of way and calling everybody again, but they do have a right of way, just not where they're going, and they don't want to spend any money to fix their problem, not mine. And I was hoping that somebody would talk to them about, because I know they're calling in again. I mean, I guess less now, but I know we've had yesterday on Easter Sunday, we started having these people come by on Easter Sunday again. Not talking about the drug dealers, people that they're calling to complain to. And we just don't know what to do with it anymore. I mean, cost us 40,000 in our last car. It just brand new car, shot. Jammed in the side with a steel pipe, motor, transmission. Wiring in my car was so messed up that couldn't fix it. And our generator, our chainsaw, anything that has, you don't want to put gas in it that's been sitting around. And I have a 1945 tractor, and I'm pretty sure that even though I put fresh gas in it, the motor's gone. So it's not one thing, it's these little vandals, and Tom has a list and we're not sure what to do. I thank you for your time and your patience. And I know some of the things you can help, but like I said, maybe I'd ask the state reps for some money to help you deal with and get some drug enforcement agencies down here, officers, and deal with the real drug problem. It's bigger than you think. I just can't believe that the drug dealers think they're so powerful. They can't do anything about them.
Yeah.
And I can list them all for you if you want.
I don't know if listing them for us would get very far. I mean, there are certain things the town can do and certain things, that we can't. Settling property line disputes and right of ways, it's probably gonna require a real estate attorney. A town really can't do much in the way of that would hold up in court. If we had a property line dispute with a town property itself.
It's more
we
of
would have to
that
do that.
when they call into you guys or whoever they're calling in the town clerk's office, direct them to their deed. It has specifics. I want to keep it because it's,
Well, if they want to prove a dispute, it would be on, I'm not a lawyer here, but it would be on them to hire a property attorney, real estate attorney or something, or a surveyor to prove their deed wrong.
right,
If that's their dispute. As far as crime, vandalism and everything, obviously, we contract out the sheriff's department, but what's concerning to me is if you're not hearing back from them, so I think we should follow up with Roger Marcoux, make sure that formal complaints are lodged correctly, and the ATV thing. I think we could reach out to Green Mountain ATV Club, they spend some dollars to get Green Mountain there, to get some control with the sheriff's department.
I will tell you, 2 of the motorcycles that have been coming to our property and harassing us, they're dirt bikes. You'll find them up across from what's called the Reservoir Road. And they all head up there, go up top of French Hill, and there's a road marked Reservoir Road. 2 yellow school buses there. You'll see 2 little red dirt bikes sitting there. Those are the tracks that were in our yard the night the trailer burnt. They also were there and they continue to come during the night while we're sleeping. The Judd boys, we've realized that it's them shooting in and out, and it's not a 25 mile an hour that they're doing. They're just screaming, and if anybody says anything, they're gonna retaliate. And like I said, I'd appreciate it if you did reach out to Roger. Watson, he probably won't come. Seems like he's scared of me. Of course, he probably should be. I'd really like to see Roger Marcoux come down and have a conversation and figure out what we can really do about it. The vandalism, it's cost us probably close to $100,000 right now out of our pocket. So it's not a little bit of money, it's a lot. And that was money that we intended to put into the property. And now we're running behind because we had to fix the car. Well, actually, we had to replace it. We don't just buy cars and stuff, 2 cars and our generator and everything else. I just pour in sugar and he thinks it's funny. I just don't find it funny. And like I said, it wasn't just ours. He was bragging about doing the McClures. And I know Paul, he's not a rich person either. Everything he gets hard-earned money. And I'm sure if you look around, there's a lot of other fires that were set and these are the fellas that are doing it. I just don't know what to do about it. Sandy's scared to death to live out there. And as my health goes, and we'd like to have kept the property for our kids and grandkids. I mean, the land's absolutely magnificent. It's beautiful out there, private. The animals are something that, don't get treasured enough, but it's not worth having property when vandals and people are going to harass you just to harass you to make you leave. I'd take it up with them personal, but the only one Watson can arrest is me. And I just don't get it. I mean, need better policing or something. I don't know who negotiates the contract, but I don't get why they can't take and do something with this or even call back. I appreciate your time. And it's very frustrating. Like I said, it's costing us a lot of money. We're just waiting for the next motors, the next whatever for them to destroy it. I don't have the money to replace it anymore. And we did very well for years, me and Sandy did. And she's scared to be out there by herself. And like I said, gunshots at night, call them and they're going to refer you. Don't get it. I'd go deal with it myself, but then I don't want to do the jail time. And sometimes it's easier to be civil. Tried selling the property last winter. Had a lot of lookers, but if you want to give it away, then you can give it away. But, then it's just another drug haven. It's just going to get worse. It's a drug problem. It's not a vandalism problem. It's not a right-of-way problem. It's all a drug problem. Everybody on that road sells drugs. And if you come and just sit and watch, you'll actually be like, wow, they're right. And it's scary, start when you roll onto the River Road East, it's complete drugs from one end to the other. And you travel up French Hill, same thing. Down here, you can sit and watch them roll right out of the buildings. I've watched people so high that they've fallen down as they're staggering down our streets. I don't get it. Johnson's always been a good place to live, and there's a lot of good people here. I've really liked the people on the board here. I mean, the meetings that you had are something to be treasured because, I've actually seen where you guys are organized and stuff like that and have really good conversations, but we're really discouraged with the amount of money we've lost in having our cars destroyed and everything. And what are we going to do? I'll love to hear from anybody with some suggestions. I mean, I'm sick right now. I'm working on staying alive, if you want to know, but it ain't helping. Trying to figure out who's going to sugar my tank, and I can't stay up all night. I have to get some sleep. And they know when we go to sleep because there's no lights out there. I mean, I like dark, but that's how I sleep, is in the dark. So I thank you for your time, and sorry for taking so much time, you guys, because I know you got a big night ahead. Yeah. All right.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, next up is select board issues or concerns. Are there any issues or concerns from the select board?
I just had, one small concern. I know you've been doing such a good job with the library and everything. I just wanna make sure that we're posting the agenda packet online though, like around the same time.
It wasn't posted this time.
I didn't see it.
So how that works is I email it out, it goes to Lydia in the office, and then Lydia is supposed to, from that email. Post the agenda and the packet online, so I'll just follow.
Okay,
Why that's what the disconnect is.
okay.
Is it the timing?
No,
Cause it went out at 7:45 on Friday, maybe?
it could be, yeah, I mean, I'll just check in, see what's going on, I mean.
Okay.
Is it on the Town of Johnson website? Is that where it's supposed to be?
Yeah,
The agenda was on Front Porch Forum today, yeah. I don't know when it hit the Facebook page.
You know, as part of the packet, I just wanna say this, the packet is for the edification of the select board, not the general public. It's a public document and it's available and accessible to people, but the primary purpose of the select board, of the town administrator's report is for our benefit to help us make.
Yeah.
It's not really something that needs, in my opinion, at least it needs to be out there in my view.
yeah. I know when I was like in the public, it was really nice for me to like see before meetings, so I could like educate myself on what's going on and like participate more. So I think it's nice to have.
But
Yeah.
don't dispute, all I'm saying is the purpose of the town administrator's report is for the benefit of this select board to help us make it.
Yeah.
But there's no objections to it being in the public.
It's a public
You're not
document,
objecting,
it's a public document, somebody wants it, they can have it.
Yeah, I mean, people like put draft on it and then update it once you have a final, like at the day after the meeting or something.
Well, I think the big thing is the agenda, and so. Typically, if it is late, she still, when she gets in on Monday, she's still supposed to post it online.
Okay,
And that's, it didn't happen, we'll check follow up on the beginning.
Yeah.
Does the agenda have to be posted online ahead of time?
48 hours.
I found it online.
Agenda has to be posted, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the front porch forum.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
has to be at the two public locations, 48 hours,
Yeah,
yeah.
posted in 3 public locations plus, which is library, market, here, and then it has to be online.
But it doesn't have to be online 48 hours.
Yeah, that's part of the new open meeting laws is that if you have a website, you have to post online.
But not on Facebook.
Correct.
Any other issues or concerns from the select board?
Just following up on, Ron Dixon. What can we do? What will we do? Probably all we can do is follow up with the sheriff. Yeah, I went through this with Ron, and all we can do from the town's perspective was just call the sheriff and just, make sure that there's, figure out what the communication break is and see if we can just resolve that. And then the other piece is if Ron and Sandy want to come into the town office, that we can assist with research for deeds and surveys. But that we can't do the research, but we can assist them with their research.
We could reach out to the ATV club.
Yeah, I didn't put that in, yeah, that's what I said we would do in the next meeting.
No, that's.
It's worth
Positive impact, but it's worth a try.
Who's reaching out? Okay. Perfect.
If you wanna, don't contract anything, let me know.
Other select board issues or concerns?
I have one. And we can do this differently if we want, we have a new board, and we should probably talk about it, but a while ago, we decided that we were gonna try and make the second meeting of the month a work session meeting. And it seems to me we're really migrating strongly out of work session items and into regular business stuff, and I wish we wouldn't do that. I would prefer to have this second meeting be reserved to do the things that we can't get done in a regular meeting. So, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Duncan. This seems like a first of the month meeting right here.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. It's. I think we can get there, yeah, for sure. I think a lot of
It's
it.
not like we don't have enough stuff.
Yeah,
work
there's-
on.
There's always stuff, right?
Well, there's a number of things kind of pressing right now that's in this. So hopefully when some of these things get taken care of, then we can go back to the
I
second
hope
meeting.
so, but there's always pressing.
Oh, I
issues
know, I understand.
That need to get, I think we just need to try to be firm and. Yeah, the work session items, but that's just me. Yeah, maybe the board doesn't wanna do that
No,
anymore.
I mean, I have interest in getting back to it. Our first month after, you know. We kind of changed during budget season and then town meeting and playing catch up. I believe item number 9 is there because I pushed it to this meeting. But maybe I misunderstood the topic of it a little bit. That'll be on me. But I think we can get back there.
But I'm throwing it out there for your you guys set the agenda, so.
Yeah.
You know, just keep it in mind.
Yep. Other issues or concerns? Do we really have no planned purchases? Okay. This number 6 could have been. Bumped. And 7. But for the next one, we'll get there.
But I'll move to appoint Adrian Smith to the Rail Trail Committee.
Second?
Motion is second, further discussion. Oh,
Was Linda
this is
already
a
been
public.
Yeah.
comment.
Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye,
Aye.
all those opposed?
Aye.
Yeah,
I'm an aye, but I had a question. Is this a recommendation of the Rail Trail Committee for this appointment?
no, they recommended to us for a point.
So what had that already been done, the recommendation?
Yeah, that came from.
That'll work.
I think it was me,
Beth,
yeah.
which is part of the threshold.
Yeah, it might have been there,
Yeah,
That's the easiest way out of it, nothing.
right.
probably that.
Like a brain scan.
Probably something in the-
Nightmare my
In the
brain.
packet, if we included that email, it would just been.
Good news was I had
Next up is the accepting of the resignation of Kyle News from the beautification committee.
Move to accept with thanks.
And I'll second that.
Motion a second, further discussion.
I just wanted to thank Kyle for her service as the chair and vice chair, and I'm sure she'll be back, but. But it's sad to see her go for now.
Send her a card. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And the ayes have it. Susan, you're up. And there's like 3/4 of our packet is information for you, but we gave you 10 minutes long.
Okay.
Oh, but first,
I've been trying.
mean, yeah. This is farther back.
oh, I did not put the tree flag.
You did not put the tree forward in the packet.
I
Okay.
put her email.
It was quite lengthy and it was online.
Is it the maintenance plan you want?
It was the maintenance plan. Yeah, that one was in the packet. That's just what I was saying is still there.
Okay.
We
We
filled
are-
out the questionnaire that we kind of put together as a board, which I find quite helpful and hits the highlights. Is there anything you'd like to add or go over?
Well, starting with the maintenance plan, that was written in 2016 and it's way out of date. So I suggested to Tom that it needs to be updated. We're also at the same time working on a shade tree preservation plan. We'd like to roll it all in there, update it, and then get the board to weigh in on it.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Is
it would be more time consuming to do it this way.
Is the board comfortable with the tree board working on a updated maintenance plan?
No problem. Are we open for questions to Susan now, or do we want to wait?
I think you can ask a question. Are you okay with that, Susan?
Sure.
Was your goal in that packet, when it showed, 125 years ago, when the streets were completely line with trees on both sides. Is that your goal? Future, or is that just illustration of what it looked like years ago?
We would love to have that as a goal, but because there's so much infrastructure under the sides of the road, it's not possible.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
We don't like trees?
I think he's glad to hear that there's consideration for the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. We don't do
Mike
anything.
is our
with it.
official tree squirter, so I think he likes trees.
You haven't got me that's gonna be coming right up
You gotta
here,
get
so
certified.
yes, I need to get certified.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
are
I'm
you?
gonna inject those trees, we can't be spending $1,200 every year to do that, and I can do it for free.
Well, I think that would be
As,
way cool.
as far as updating the maintenance plan, I don't know for it, the shade tree prevention plan, I'm not sure how much consideration was given to that. That kind of came to us a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we've been busy.
There was a little bit of pushback from the board at the time.
Hmm.
Not sure if you remember or not. I might have been one of the ones pushing back.
You were,
Um,
you didn't like trees either.
Oh, where's the full of them?
I mean,
Where's the full of them?
it wasn't, my issue wasn't trees. My issue was like landowners' rights.
I know.
And you guys were targeting specific stretches of road, which I find beautiful, but I'm not willing to take rights away from the landowners. For that.
We updated that plan and it's pretty much ready to represent. We've just been busy. We think it would be a good idea to talk to the landowners. See if they will agree to that.
Yeah, if you got buy-in from them,
I mean, I
I
understand.
wholeheartedly be behind it. I just didn't want to sign away their certain
Yeah,
rights
I
without-
understand. Somebody comes to me and says, you gotta do this. I say, oh, yeah.
You
So,
own
I
property,
get
right,
it.
Susan?
What?
You own
She owns
property.
a
right?
lot of property.
I own both sides of the road there.
Are there any other questions for the board? I really like the arboretum. I would like to see maybe a little bit more of that in your plan. It probably will be now because it's grown a lot.
Yeah, that plan
since
doesn't even mention the
2016.
arboretum. We didn't have the arboretum. We hadn't
There
even
was
thought
kind
of
of a big build out plan.
it. Well, the arboretum is a big part of what we do now, so, yeah. It is totally out of date. As far as the arboretum goes, we're gonna be finishing the water system soon, because we gotta finish up that grant. We have some signage coming for riparian restoration, education. And I'm just waiting for those to show up and we'll hang them and that'll be that for that grant. And we'll have water coming out of those spigots. Can't wait.
Exciting times.
That's exciting stuff. We wanted that for 5 years.
Anything else you want to add to the board? I feel like I'm hogging up the mic here. Nobody likes to listen to me talk. so-
You mentioned that you were like interested in having like a flatbed trailer someday for getting mulch. Is that a goal?
A dump trailer would be
Yeah.
good. Because if we could go pick up, say, 5 or 6 yards of mulch from PNR, it would save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right now, or last fall, they probably have gone up, but the only place around who delivers mulch is B&B. We got 5 yards of it. We went through it in a week and it was almost $400.
You
So-
could call that guy up in Lowell, drop 10 yards off tomorrow. What's his name?
What's he gonna drop it off in?
You gonna put it in the trailer?
No, but,
In the trailer, you'd have to spot to dump it, right? So there was a plan for that.
well, the thing is, that ground is wet down there. You can't send a great big Mack truck down there right now because it wouldn't get back out again. Even with a gravel road. So we have to time it when it's drier.
We need to elevate. Helicopter.
That's
Ally?
that's the Eric's property.
Yeah,
Yeah, he won't.
I
You
mean,
did a pretty good job.
mulch is probably a conversation for you know, when we talk about committees as a whole, and I had mentioned it to Adrian in the past, because every committee wants more money every year, and I'm not saying that's a bad, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just fact. But you know, specifically, I mentioned mulch to Adrian because she's on the beautification committee and I saw a report, I believe before you're on the board maybe.
Mhm.
Where they were looking to be able to purchase more mulch, and I'm sitting here going, beautification wants to purchase mulch. So it's the arboretum, both great causes, why can't they purchase in bulk and store it somewhere?
Mhm.
But,
Well,
yeah.
time wise, we need it at the yard unless somebody wants to put it down there when we need it. When we first started, the village bought us 5 yards of mulch. It was up at the town garage and it disappeared. And the village said the town took it, the town said the village took it, and we didn't get it replaced, and that was a problem. So we have reservations about storing mulch someplace other than where we are.
But you're open to ideas.
As long as they're not gonna add more time to our job. I mean, if we have to go pick up buckets of mulch every time we wanna spread 6 yards of mulch down there. It's not. It's not labor, it's too labor intensive.
Could it be stockpiled when things, I know it might not be convenient right now, but could it be stockpiled when it's dry so that next spring you could use it when you needed it? You'd have it there.
Sure. Yeah, we get a couple of loads of mulch during the year, but it has to be after the ground's dried out and not after a rainy spell. Cause you may remember the very large truck that was down there 3 years ago, stuck in the mud.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I seen that did a site visit last fall, I think, and I'm not, you had a delivery then,
Mhm.
mulch. And we were. The way that it is, you drive from gravel onto the grass and like unload 90 degrees perpendicular to the driveway.
that's been gravelled now.
So you can turn, I guess Jason's thought was maybe turning your storage area 90 degrees so that it faces.
I'm laughing because we just turned it.
Oh, okay.
The other way.
The
Yeah,
other way.
I was outvoted by the males on the group.
well, I think. that's the
Frankly.
problem right there. But anyways, it might be, when Jason gets back from vacation, I think just having a meeting with him might help resolve, make a long-term solution.
The idea was a turnaround, so the way we put gravel so they could pull in and back up and dump and then leave. If
Yeah.
it's the other way, they have to do like a 4-point turnaround. Probably that's why we changed. it.
Yeah,
We'll have to buy a town side by side, let it drive all over the village, get mulch everywhere. Stockpile it down there, boy, that would be,
Actually, we kind of go along with that.
I'm sure you may. I don't know if I'll live to hear the end of that one.
Oh, just
Have you
home.
guys thought about intertwining sculptures with the long-term arboretum plan,
We have not.
sculpture pedestals? It's a big one. recently.
We have discussed that.
I don't think they,
We have sculpture down there.
The trees are the school.
They're natural sculptures.
I've been to other arboretums in other parts of the world and I like both, but that's just me, I'm one person.
Want to join the tree board?
What part of the world? I went to a huge one in Louisiana in October, awesome,
Yeah, but they're weird down there.
really, really pretty trees.
Fair enough. That's, you know, seriously, that's our point. The trees are the sculpture. And that's why the arboretum is meant to educate.
Loud and clear, looking to see if there'd be collaboration, sounds like no.
I can only tell you
Town
that,
property, no collaboration.
like I told Charles, if you want to put a Rodin down there, that'll be fine. But the question is, who's gonna be liable for it? Who's gonna trim and mow around it? Who's gonna take care of it? Who's gonna insure it? Who's gonna move it? And where are they gonna put it? And the tree board doesn't want any part of any of that because we've already got enough work.
I'm getting a astounding no.
That was a board decision. It wasn't mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to talk to Noel now. Is there anything else from the select board?
I just have a comment. And that is,
How dare you.
I had not seen the Johnson Community Forestry Plan until the packet. And it's just an amazing piece of work.
Thank you.
Really impressed by what you guys did, not to mention what you're doing, but this was really something.
Thank you. It'd be better when we upload.
Well done.
Are you and Lois gonna dress up as ash borer beetles again?
We do that regularly.
That's a regular thing.
Oh, yeah, every year at the Hyde Park Home Day, sure.
I did not know that.
Surprised.
Should be at the Johnson home day.
We had, if we had a parade, we might.
We do, yeah,
We did mowing at the Arboretum.
Robert and Sons.
Robin Sons, okay.
Actually, they don't do the best job in the world. Eric and Bill Perkins go out and finish it when they're gone. It's kind of sad, but that is why it looks as good as it does.
Eric Osgood, if you're watching this recording, I believe you'll do the Arboretum for free now.
He's already doing it for free.
So we should take it off the list.
Did you have any thoughts about a wheelbarrow?
Wheelbarrow?
You asked what our desires are. I mentioned wheelbarrows.
You're asking for a dump trailer, it's like $18,000, a couple $100 wheelbarrow. I don't, do you need to come to us for that? I think I need a PO from Rosemary.
$200 for a wheelbarrow?
I didn't know that.
A good heavy duty wheelbarrow is expensive these days.
You have money in your budget?
No,
Too bad they don't play garden carts anymore.
Yeah, those are great.
That'd make a great.
don't they?
Gardeners
Garden
cart.
cart.
They make those?
Maybe we can find one secondhand.
I don't know, I think they're not making one.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't looked for one.
They used to have bicycle wheels and they went to cheap.
You said you don't have money in your budget, but you'll have a new budget July 1st, right?
Yes, but seriously, the price of compost and mulch and fertilizer has gone up astronomically. We got to think about the living things first.
I'm supportive of a wheelbarrow.
Okay,
How do you feel, Peter?
I love wheelbarrows. I'm 100% behind it.
I think you should get an electric.
Okay.
an
Now
electric.
now we're skipping over that one.
You can charge it right up at the charging station.
Yeah,
The village charging station.
I
Yeah,
guess, can you just make a formal request and we'll do it in a meeting? If it's over and above budget, I think that's part of our policy.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a sit down, see what you have left and. Those grants are finalized, so we'll know if there were any overages and.
there's an overage on the grant. I
I
can tell
don't
you
know
that.
grant, but maybe not on the budget as a whole, so I think let's see where we're at and go from there. And make a plan before July 1st.
Okay, thank you. The tree board thanks you.
Believe.
Anything?
You can still get them.
Tree moving is gonna get some press.
Oh.
From tree moving. Okay, I'll just say it. So we moved the crab apple tree, we took a bunch of pictures, leafed out today, according to Sue.
Yes, I know.
And the Urban and Community Forestry Program at FPR is interested in doing a little piece on it in their newsletter. Because they think it's really cool. I think it's really cool. It's kind of amazing that we pulled that off.
I would say so.
So it's very happy it's now the largest tree in the Arboretum. We hope it survives. So
Well, it's got 2 little leaves today.
Oh, just 2?
Well,
I thought you
it's
said
coming.
leafed
I mean, it just barely broke dormancy.
That is very exciting.
I said this to Sue, but I think it's really important, like that was probably one of the most powerful acts of community and collaboration I've ever seen. Like what you pulled off in a short amount of time is truly amazing between multiple municipalities and
Thank you.
volunteers and wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We also appreciate Jason's help too, because he lifted it out.
Is there more?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. What would the board like to see for next month? Somebody throw something out there. I wouldn't mind seeing the Conservation Commission because they want us to pay for surveying, but I never really saw the hard figures in our agenda.
And what it's sound like.
Okay, nobody's objecting to the Conservation Commission. I guess that's what we're going with. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, there you go, Tom. Next up, Rail Trail Committee permission for a kiosk at Legion Field. There is something in the packet, and I believe. What's the here?
Yeah.
How would the select board like to proceed?
You know, Mary Lou Copus, I just want to introduce you to the people who might not know you. You know Linda.
Linda,
So we're filling in for Doug. I don't know what's in your packet.
does the select board have any questions?
What are you envisioning for a kiosk?
So
Oh, I could show you.
I have some pictures,
We have to.
but
We
I don't
want
know if you
three,
can put anything up
we're
there.
interested in getting three kiosks.
Three.
Three, and we've spoken to Brian Courier. And he is interested in making them.
In different spots, I mean, not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one for the Legion Field,
Yep.
one for the Village Green,
and one up.
and one for
Ted Alexander Welcome Center.
the Welcome Center.
Okay, quickly,
Yeah,
we can only approve Legion Field and the Welcome Center. You guys know that the village.
Right,
we already talked to the
Yep.
village, yeah.
They were in support.
They're kind of waiting until
Who knows?
you guys,
Beth, did you have something quick while these are getting handed out?
well, I can't hand them out, but.
Yeah, my question is about, actually, when Mike spoke earlier, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm thinking like Mike.
Oh, no.
Is there a plan for Legion Field? Because there is a lot happening at Legion Field and it's not a big space. And I'm very worried about the design of the utility.
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here too, Howard?
So-
Oh my gosh. You're-
So under the CEDS update, I already had a question about
Which one,
that.
this would be Legion
This would
Field?
be Legion. Field.
Okay, this should come after that.
And we're going to put.
This is about adding some Legion Field.
Welcome.
I think I
Center.
have a
Another-
picture.
Adding a kiosk.
No, I don't think you have to decide where it goes.
I wonder if we could build that for Americans.
We were thinking.
What's that, this corner here?
Boy Scouts could build that.
Leader.
Eagle Scout.
Just run that by
Harbor
Howard.
left hand
If they want to call
near
it,
the
we're talking.
new VEC building.
Brian gave us a very, very.
Yeah, sort of in
Like that much.
Yeah.
Between the bread oven and the
So we
property.
can't really have sidebars
Somewhere
here, we
in
should
that
do it.
area. Totally open.
We should
Yeah.
do it.
That
$1,500.
should be the
Yeah, I
most thing
know.
on your agendas, actually.
But the kiosks are 1,500
Like a
Right.
public
apiece.
notice.
It's a two-sided thing, one side public notice, the other side map.
Really, because no one's using the store anymore.
No.
That.
Is,
That's the.
Yeah.
I had pictures, but you'd have to,
Um,
I'd have to have Wi-Fi and you'd have to connect me to the screen, so I don't know if that's beyond.
Jan.
I don't know if we have that technology
Okay, that's fine.
That would be under administrators. But yes,
I think
Yeah.
I think kiosks, anything highlighting the rail trail is a wonderful thing.
Mhm.
My concern, I think, might be very similar to Beth. That I'm hearing all different kinds of conversations about Legion Field. And thinking that rather than a hodgepodge of things, someone ought to be thinking through the whole picture.
Like a Legion Field committee.
So, yeah, that's a
You
good
know,
idea. So what,
almost sounds.
we're not looking at changing anything at Legion Field. So our understanding of being on the agenda tonight was that we have some grant money and that we need to designate where we want to spend that money. Is that correct? That was my understanding.
what? We have not seen the grant or many much of the details, but there was a deadline to get the grant signed.
We have a $20,000 grant from the Vermont Community Foundation.
Yeah, and
We
that's,
have to spend
Mhm.
by the end of our budget year.
yeah.
So we have a list.
So we have a list of what we're spending that money on. The only thing that,
Rail trail related, yeah.
yes,
Yes,
but the only thing
So
that
it's all covered
affects,
by grant money.
yes. The only
Why are we
thing,
disagreeing with it?
Nobody's disagreed, I'm just waiting for a motion.
but we're
What
not
you
talking
do
about
field.
changing anything at the field because there's the Welcome Center there and there's renovations to the Welcome Center, which is, I think, just putting resurfacing and
Stone steps down.
You're talking
And then-
about Old Mill Park.
Old Mill
All of
Park.
these conversations are about Legion Field, which is on School Street.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
You're good.
I didn't mean Legion Field. I always confuse them. Never mind. Legion Field, what we'd like to do at Legion Field is to have a kiosk there that shows the rail trail, but also businesses and things for visitors in town. And what we're trying to do with the grant money is to make it so that visitors to the rail trail, because a lot of people come and recreate there, are interested in coming into town and, you know, spending money at our businesses and doing things in our town. So that's our goal.
In this
Mr.
particular.
Chairman, that's a
kiosk,
no-brainer.
Make a motion.
I move that we approve it. There's no cost to the town, it's being funded by grant money.
So motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion?
Oh,
Where's it gonna go?
yeah, where did you say on the infield?
Can I weigh in here?
Sure.
For those of us who can't see me because, anyway, I'm Howard Romero and I'm on something called the. What the hell is it called? The Legion Field Group. And I'm working on a site plan for Legion Field,
Okay.
all right? So complete overview, so. The stakeholders up to this point have only been the community of an Tuesday Night Live and recreation. Happy to have more stakeholders.
And the skate
So,
park.
which I guess would be you guys.
Mhm.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
And I can see something like I was just shown right along on the outside of the tree line facing right at the street.
Right, we were thinking the
yeah, so if you're on-
southwest corner of the
So
field.
if you're on the
That's fine.
sidewalk
So-
facing the field,
That's
it's
fine.
on the
So,
left. hand by the-
exact,
Facing the field or the street?
exact location for this kiosk,
Two
we
sides,
don't
we
need to
don't
have
care. We
that
don't need to-
conversation.
public side doesn't matter.
Fine, fine, I understand.
We'll just approve it, and then we'll take care of the location of it, right?
I think if we, yeah, go ahead and approve that and then we have one other question.
okay.
Well,
Is there further discussion on the motion on the floor?
I was gonna say maybe we shouldn't cement it in case things move around. So.
That's fine, it's going to be pressure treated, 6x6s, and they can easily, they can pick it back.
It will be
It's not
very-
gonna rot.
Okay.
It's not on a cement platform,
I
it's
can take
just
it.
post buried.
Beauty. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. All those opposed, yes, have it.
Thank
You
you.
said you had one more thing, but it's
We
only
do
one
have
for
one more
one
thing,
thing.
just because Doug suggested, Moldy suggested that we, make sure that we can, get approval for all of, projects that we have that are funded by that grant of Vermont Community, Foundation.
Do we
It
have-
has to be paid by the end of the budget year, from what I understand. So
Budget
we
year,
have,
so
we have
June
a,
30th.
we have a list
June
of
30th.
projects.
Yeah, can you send us the list of the projects? It can be
We
at
can,
our next meeting.
yes,
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Vermont 250th move up. Yeah. I would entertain a motion from the board. Where did you add it back?
The proclamation.
I will move to approve the Vermont 250th anniversary resolution. As is found on our board, and I don't think we have to read this, but we could include copy of the resolution in minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion. The only thing I have, obviously, like where it says city or town. That needs to be filled in, and we'll all have to come in and sign, or can we just sign at the next meeting? You'll have it ready? Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And the ayes have it. We will have another one coming up for Vermont
No,
in
Vermont.
future years.
Yeah.
This one covers, as I understand it, it looks like it's from 2025 through 2027,
Right,
which is 2027 would be 250th anniversary of the Republic of Vermont.
and the one that,
2025 is the anniversary of the American.
and the one that Mike sent. Do we want to take that up at a future meeting?
No, we want to take that out now.
We could certainly do that, and I would approve, I mean, the difficulty is April 18th is on the pass.
Yes, I know.
So if we could do it retroactively or.
Yeah. I'd like Diane to speak to it if she doesn't mind.
Y'all might have seen a post I made on Front Porch Forum about the 250th commemoration of April 18th, 1775.
Yeah.
And, what's that? And the two lights, exactly. And, my apologies that I didn't find out about it sooner. Our dad actually sent me the thing. He lives in New Jersey. And, they were commemorating it there. And I thought, oh man, this is something that our town should get behind. And then lo and behold, I come to find out that you already have on the agenda, the 250th Vermont over the course of the 3 years. And, so I made the call on Front Porch Forum to the village trustees and you guys to make a proclamation with regards to that. And, that was the second one in there, the kind of yellow one. And before I, saw the Vermont template, I drafted a resolution for your consideration that acknowledged the history of since April 1775 through the founding of Vermont in 1791. And so I guess I just would add a third one to the pile for you to consider. There's the Vermont one, there's the template from the event in New Jersey, which was specifically for April 18. And the main thing that I added on this was down at the bottom in the therefore be it resolved section. The suggestion to phrase something like the select board of the town of Johnson, Vermont endorses the townwide 2 lights if by sea initiative and calls on citizens to display 2 lights on the anniversary of other such historic dates as may be announced to commemorate the role of Vermont and its people in the American Revolution. So even though we found out about that particular event on the late side before you could meet and consider it, it seems like we could use that as a jumping off point for other revolutionary events that we might choose to commemorate over the next couple years.
So how would we like to move forward?
I'm fine with a retroactive resolution, for a date, but I would like to actually see it drafted here and presented for the town of Johnson. The wording could be,
Yeah, it could be similar to this one.
could be almost verbatim.
Yeah,
And
Well,
we'll sign it at the next meeting.
And we could pick a specific date where people would hang 2 lights in the window.
Certainly.
so move, Mr. Chairman.
Tom, can you draft that for our next meeting? Anybody has a specific date in mind? Send an email.
Was it,
Is there,
16th, Battle of Bennington? Is
the
that-
Battle of Bennington Day might be a great day to do it.
That's a significant.
Sounds good to me.
Me too.
I'm not hearing arguments from anybody, so.
How about you, Diane?
I'm grateful for anything that you consider. I don't have any agenda, other than I think that we need to get behind this.
We were talking about on the Battle of Bennington Day.
Yeah, right. I think that's one of many dates that might be very appropriate.
Okay. So be it.
You'll have that ready for us. Okay,
Thank you.
You need a second to a motion.
It's been seconded.
there's no motion.
There was no motion.
He said
I
so.
kinda made a
moved.
motion.
The
I moved.
the movement was, Tom, can you prepare?
Yeah.
Okay.
And nobody's arguing with Tom preparing.
I second.
All right, next up.
Whatever. Gonna move forward anyway, that's all it counts.
Yeah. Next up is school street traffic. Tom's looking for a motion from the board to appoint himself and Adrian to work with police on the elementary school and studio center, Lund County Sheriff's Department and tree board to create an Orange Book compliant cross road within the road maintenance budget for the May 6th meeting. So you're looking for a motion for us to have all those people work together to come up with a plan?
Don't want to get out too far ahead, their studio center was very interested in working with the town. Preliminary conversations have been positive. Is the board okay with delegating a select board member to work, just to make sure that everybody who needs to, the road foreman and the sheriff are most concerned about, and just making sure that anything that's even presented is okay, right? Like, how do you do that? And so start those conversations, make a plan, and put a dollar amount to it for you to then say yay or nay.
Before we make the motion, can I make an observation? The observation is in the past, the village crew has always painted the crosswalks within the village. So if we're gonna accept that responsibility, I think we should be prepared for the fact that we're probably gonna be taking on the responsibility for paying all the crosswalks
Do they,
in the village.
Correct.
do we pay half of it? Like, how's that, like,
The best of my knowledge, the village crew has just always painted the crosswalks.
who pays the parking lots
Where?
on School Street? Like on the sides?
There aren't any.
I don't think there are.
They haven't been painted.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Beth, you got a comment?
I was gonna say Peter lives on School Street. Not past Adrian, but it seems like Peter has a vested interest in School
Yeah.
Street.
Well,
So,
the people who will be hit by speeding cars have a vested interest.
That's true.
so,
And you are most likely to be one of them.
so I have the high level question, which ties into Duncan's. Is the board receptive to the idea of 3D painted crosswalks? And most likely owning the cost for them every year in perpetuity? Or not?
It doesn't mean because we do the ones on School Street that we're gonna be responsible for all of us.
What if we ask the village to contribute some financial amount equal to what they would have done anyways, but the town pays for everything that and above, so it's a collaborative effort of town and village financially, but then the labor would be provided by the studio center and their abilities.
The board be receptive to that? Tom, you asked.
Yeah, as a practical matter, though, the village crew, it doesn't affect their budget, it's just, they do it. Their out-of-pocket expense is the paint for the crosswalks, which is always has been reflective white special sidewalk paint. So I don't care, I just wanted to raise the issue that it has not been the town that traditionally paints the crosswalks, it's been the village who paints crosswalks within the village.
Does everybody in the audience have pictures of all of this?
Yeah.
We've seen it all.
That-
If we increase the amount of sidewalks, will they still pay for, or the crosswalks, will they still pay for those? Like we increased it?
I don't know, but there are generally warrants needed to establish where a crosswalk is located. I mean, there's,
Part of the engineering with the library moving, the paint brought things to light, the current crosswalks aren't in great locations. And so once construction's done, there's probably gonna have to be a new configuration with where you have, the way they are now might not be the best location anyways. But just rethinking about School Street as a whole, where do those crosswalks need to be? Which why it lends into this conversation, if we're gonna rethink it, we might as well, now's the time to think about safety. I mean, the intent of this is not to make them pretty and fun, it's to slow down traffic. And so as we think about slowing down traffic and we're thinking about moving crosswalk, it's just kind of all ties together. And so that same engineering, normally we would probably say like, hey, where does it make sense for crosswalks? And this isn't something that this board is gonna decide, it's gonna be larger, it's gonna be going compliant. There's gotta be reasons for where they are, X number of feet from whatever, and I don't think that's our decision to make.
I believe we had another comment from the public.
I have two actually. One is if the art studio is gonna paint, that's great, but this is like a long-term commitment. It's not a one-time thing. So do we know that that would be a long-term commitment by their board?
Yes.
Sorry, their board or a single person at the art studio? Because this is a board commitment of the art studio, no long-term commitment. Don't correct the answer of the board discussion personally. Second question is, these look really cool. I think they look great. I also worry that they encourage playing in the road.
well, a couple of them do.
But,
Peter. no
are they
play.
compliant with road
No
crossing?
playing.
Mom? Are they compliant with road
The public
crossing?
needs to respect the other public.
I mean, I think the request of the board tonight is.
Wait, let me ask
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
Are they compliant with standard of road crossings That's my other question, because it is not safe. I know from being a parent dropping kids off at the school. It is a hairy situation in the morning, dropping your kids off across the road and getting them across. And where to your point, where the sidewalk, where the crosswalks are, there's not enough of them and it's not safe. But I worry about a flashy thing not helping with it. And anyway, the questions about liability standards.
Yeah, that's why Tom had mentioned the orange book a couple of times. That's the compliance agency, I
So-
think.
It's just to investigate, not to, none of those are just ideas to get the board thinking of it's gonna be different than white lines. Would be the request in 2 weeks, but that orange book is gonna tell us what we can and can't do, and then you're gonna take whatever idea that's compliant with that, you're gonna talk to Jason, the road foreman, and say, hey, what does this do for you guys? And then you're gonna go right to the sheriff and say, if you're gonna enforce this, are these even enforceable from a law enforcement perspective too? So there's, it's not just the state of Vermont, you have local, and then you have regional law enforcement.
The other thing I'll just say too, is that there are a lot of kids that play on the basketball court, that the school's not gonna be thinking about, they're gonna be thinking about kids getting in and out of cars. And there's quite a few people that actually walk up. Sure, it's the road right there, but the road by the basketball hoop too, from not just where you enter the playground, but also entering the road. Will be another crossing point.
High level, Tom is looking to work with a board member and people to come back with ideas and numbers. Are we okay with him coming back with ideas and numbers?
Sure.
We're not making a decision tonight.
But I'd like to discuss police presence, because everybody in town knows that Blaine Delisle used to be always parked down by Arthur Leonard's years ago, and catch anybody that was coming down Clay Hill. So anybody around knew to slow down going down Clay Hill. We have very little sheriff presence on that street, and the town pays $500,000 a year for police protection. It's supposed to be at least 8 hours per day for Johnson. I don't see 8 hours. I mean, I'm not down here all the time, and I can't really attest for sure. But to me, it seems like we don't get that full 8 hours, and I think there should be a police presence on School Street. And maybe, Peter, you know what the worst times are. And maybe they should be there.
They are there, Mike, not very often though. When I go to work in the morning, they're parked just in front of those apartment buildings.
There's a school resource officer. Who
There's
parks
somebody
on
who
School
parks
Street,
there.
But isn't in. the
There's
vehicle.
no lights or anything going.
Not in the
anything like
vehicle,
that.
in the school.
To answer the
It's
quick
an
question,
empty vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
to answer the quick question. I think the board is receptive to ideas and numbers, and we're not committed to fully going forward with it, but receptive. Is that accurate for all 4 other members?
Yes.
The other thing that we probably will need to consider, because I mean, this one came to the forefront because it's near and dear to certain people's hearts, but we get speed complaints on how many roads? I get Railroad Street every year. People speed past my house. Yeah.
They never go past my plans.
No, never go fast by Dunkin' fast, but my point is, it's important to protect children. I don't think anybody here would argue that, but we're really targeting one road. Because it's near and dear to somebody's heart.
No, it's not.
No, it's near
Not at all.
and dear to a lot of people's heart, because that road sees a lot of people using it, not just children, not just school, not just residents. But a lot of people using it. What's near and dear to my heart is not having a tragedy on that road. And I understand there are plenty of other roads that have speeding problems, but we're talking about a particular road that has very specific needs.
There's a school there.
And
There happens to be a school there, there's gonna be a library, there's a field with little children running
There's
around,
beards.
you know?
Mhm.
Someone's gonna get hit just walking to Beards.
Linda, you
This
cut
morning.
your. Sorry, I
That's
saw
again?
your hand was raised. Linda
Oh.
cut you off.
But,
Like she
you know,
goes
I was
back
just gonna
on.
say, yes, there are other roads where people speed, but it's in the middle of the town. There's a school, there's gonna be a library, there's a field. I guess that's what I was gonna say.
Mhm.
I don't want a tragedy on any road.
Either do it.
How much effort are we gonna put in every other road and get this one solved?
What I would just throw out there is, I did not send it to tonight's meeting, but I did send you all the V-Trans, traffic mitigation booklet, full of all kinds of information. And I'll just put it out there again, that I love these ideas. I think they're beautiful. I think they're interesting. I think, they have calming possibilities. But we need to address the 60-mile-an-hour yahoos that come barreling through there as much as we need to calm traffic. I drove up College Hill on my way to the meeting. You cannot go fast on College Hill. There are speed bumps all over the place, more than we need on School Street. But they plow College Hill, the speed bumps are there. They still plow College Hill even after they hit a speed bump. We need speed bumps on School Street. At least 2 of them. The rest of it, that's all great. And then we also need, to Mike's point, enforcement. Anything, you read that booklet from V-Trans and they make the point over and over again. This is great, this is great, this is great. But has to be combined with enforcement.
And to that point, and to your point, I just want to make a comment. You were absolutely right at the last meeting when you pointed out that there is a speed limit ordinance, and School Street is in that at 25. I think we need to take a look at that speed ordinance. There's nothing in that ordinance about penalties. There's no waiver penalty, there's no penalty. So I would like to task Tom at our next work session meeting to look at that ordinance and see if it's adequate. I looked at that ordinance and I scratched my head and wondering how, what are the sheriffs writing tickets on?
Isn't it from the 70s? It's pretty old, isn't it?
No, that was done in 2021. Your name's on it.
Yeah, Beth was
And
here.
your name is on it.
I believe Nat was on it as well.
There's 3 names on it, Nat, you and Beth.
He was on the board.
You didn't sign it.
Must be able to not around.
But
Must
anyway,
be, I missed that meeting, Duncan.
yeah, I mean, I would look at, take a look at the penalty section. It's not enforceable under the Municipal Traffic and Ordinance Bureau provision. So how they're writing tickets, I don't know, but look at it. You don't need to respond tonight.
Can I also look up the price of speed tables and speed bumps to bring? 141. Okay, never mind.
You can, I'm
No.
not entirely sold on it yet, and I think that needs to be a decision of the board, whether we go that route or not.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
But I reserve the right to look carefully at everything that thank you for sending that out.
Okay.
There we go.
And also, I just, Kim and I extend an invitation. We have 2 rocking chairs on the front porch. Anybody would like to come, bring a book, spend a couple hours, and you'll get a pretty good taste of what's going on.
When it warms up a little bit.
And I think
I'll
it's a
be down.
really good idea to put the speed card up, Peter, because I think, it's really easy to say cars are going 60 miles an hour. I doubt
I've
it,
been,
honestly.
I've been accused of doing 50 on Railroad Street and I know it's doing 25.
And the speed card,
That's what's
will give you a
terrible.
readout of the speed of every vehicle that it registers.
Okay.
And I can tell you from having done this in the past, that people's perception of how fast people are actually going is pretty radically different than what the data usually shows. And that's all I'm gonna say.
We'll put a little wager together after the meeting.
I feel like we're getting heated on this long topic, but everybody else has had a chance to speak and Diana was asking, you got something?
When I hear the thoughts about the speed enforcement and other issues on School Street and combine that with our resident commenting earlier, what comes to my mind is that we have a law enforcement problem. It's not an ordinance problem, it's a law enforcement problem, and we aren't getting the follow through from the sheriff that we're paying for. And I think that we need to have a system in place, whether it's at the select board level or for private citizens, to lodge complaints with the sheriff and hold him accountable for enforcing the rules on the books already before we spin our wheels redefining ordinances that aren't gonna be enforced.
Good point.
Well, but
And I just,
For this, though.
said it.
You got it.
yeah,
Good work.
I just had a couple things too. I put in a proposal for increasing some trees. Me and Sue walked down School Street and we looked at all the possible locations of where trees could go. We didn't have like a way to check for if there's utilities there, but it's just like a rough estimate of where trees could go. And Sue looked up how much some of these trees were, so if they're 1-inch caliber for 6 foot high leafed out.
Where's this on the?
It's in the packet.
It's like,
Just before the crosswalk pictures.
I know,
After
is
the
it part of
resolution.
the, part of number 11?
It's after the resolution and like,
here,
Yeah, I see it, but I don't get it, you moved on.
Adrian was just closing up, okay?
huh?
You were still on School Street traffic.
Yeah, I'm on School Street traffic.
All right,
So yeah, she priced these out and, for a mixed of short trees and tall trees. Some of them need to be shorter to go under the power lines. So we estimated like a total budget of $3,000 and that would get us 12 to 15 trees with, compost and mulch included. So I have that, and I also have, an estimate for putting stop signs at 2 different intersections. And I priced that out on the low end of $800 and the high end of $1,600. So I'd like to make a motion to increase the tree board's budget by $3,000 so they could do this planting.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
I think it's premature.
same
Any
here.
further discussion?
Premature.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily, I find it very difficult to look at something tonight and vote on it and increase the budget when I don't know what the actual benefit of planting trees is gonna be in terms of common traffic. And I'm not in favor of just throwing money at something that may or so I'll be voting no, but there's no for a second.
I'll probably call it, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No,
Nay, and the motion does not pass.
You would know?
I voted nay. You were clear on that, Donna?
I'd like to make a motion for, putting in stop signs in these 2 intersections. For either on the low end, $800 or high end, $1,600.
The motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'm just thinking right now, maybe we are better off. Looking at the whole package.
Okay.
There's no second, let me be very clear. The motion dies for lack of a second. We're not gonna second this 10 minutes down the road.
Goes to here.
Okay.
I make the motion that we,
It's dead. It's dead.
spend a minimum of $800 and back for 16.
Was that a for real one?
No.
Okay. I think we're moving on. I do think.
I thought we moved on before, excuse me,
Yeah.
I thought that we'd hash that out for a half an hour. But that we'd move on to something else.
All right, next up is the library relocation. Is there anything you want to add to what you put in the packet, Tom?
Just another public announcement of the village will be cutting power at 9 p.m. on south of the Guyan circuit. Main Street, and then we'll be back on around 6 a.m. and we'll be power off around 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. north of the Guyan. If anyone has any questions, to call the office and the village. Can help, will help you determine what your outage would be. But, and the other thing is this project is really close to wrapping up. It's great. I'm very excited for the in its new location. And it's been a very complex, big project. But we have one piece that we need help with, and that is we had a road crew member leave and another road crew member go on vacation on a cruise. And we need, the highway crew needs help that night. And they would like to hire 2 current employees of other road crews, one in Wolcott, one in Hyde Park, that are already part of the drug testing pool, and they are just asking, they will not be operating vehicles, but they will just be removing street signs, putting street signs back up. But we need 2 teams, one in front of the library, one behind. And then at the end of the night, they will be driving around picking up signage and barricades in the morning. With town people will be driving town trucks. They will not be driving our trucks.
It's absolutely necessary.
It is. We need, if it's not them, we're gonna have to hire somebody. We looked at doing subcontractor, but it's, then they have to provide insurance. We need people to help, who understand the importance of being in a work zone, who understand how the signs come in and come out, breakaway signs, and are familiar with our guys, and that these 2 people are friendly with our current road crew. So they would.
Move to approve hiring of temporary help for the library.
Motion, is there a second?
We have any numbers on that?
Peter seconded.
It's going to be what their rate is, their current rate with the town that they are at. So we're not gonna pay them any different than what they're making at in Hyde Park. It'll be overtime rates, and it's gonna come out of the library budget. It's not gonna come out of the highway budget. Yeah, out of the project budget. For the library.
Great.
Further comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, and the ayes have it. You good?
If I have a question. When the power is out, is it out solid that whole time? Or is it, because trustees seem to think it was rolling, that it wasn't, it was gonna be off for a little while, on and off and on.
It's going to be depending on where your location is. The village has done a really amazing job of putting in fuses and opportunities to backfeed to keep people from not losing their power. We have to notice it the whole time, but it's a moving target. It's gonna go out at 9 p.m. for Main Street and Railroad. And then until the building's off of Main Street.
So what about the side streets, like Clay Hill or College Hill?
Yeah, those are the ones where College Hill, I think, is gonna be 7A to 11A, but they're backfeeding the college, so the college should not lose power at all. So like, I think that's where Clay Hill, College Hill, Gould Hill is split between 2. It's really, if you could call the office or give me a call tomorrow. I'll find out when each house in those kind of further regions is very specific based on when Nate's gonna put a fuse on or open a fuse. The amount of work they put into this project is wild, right? And so they're doing the least amount of disruptions possible. The longest one, unfortunately, is that 9P to 6A, that 9-hour, and that's really the heart of our businesses, which is tough, but support them now before the move.
Okay.
If I might make one comment. I just wanted to publicly thank you, Tom, for your outstanding communication around this enormously logistically difficult project.
If anybody would understand the management plan, you would understand the emergency management plan.
But I mean, the front porch farm posts have been outstanding, and I'm sure there's been complications behind the scene that we're not aware of, but on the surface, it just seems like it's been managed so beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you. It's for a rolling target where we didn't have final answers. We still don't have final answers. It's
we're doing our best, and I just thank you for everyone for cooperating through these unknown times. But we're gonna save the library for less than it would have cost to even fix it in place, based on that 2017 Stevens report, so. We are saving money and moving the library.
Will it be set permanently in place?
It's going to roll on to the pad that's been set. From there, a company's gonna come in and pour a
I
foundation.
just want to say,
Oh,
that we're gonna be out of here by 9:30.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
after it's moved to where?
Yep, and then lower it onto the foundation.
Okay. Moving on, CDBG funding options, when's the deadline for this?
It hasn't been announced yet, the anticipation, the grant, it's probably gonna be the application period from the meeting that we last went to. First, second week of June, and then through the summer till September. But what I think is, the state had special interest in Johnson, right? That's why our zip code was identified specifically. With the change of the village decision to no longer relocate the sewage treatment center, I would like your permission to reach out to the state and say, this is the change. What is your priority? So then we can write our grant and match their priorities so that we can be successful. And I think understanding their priority for Johnson and matching our priorities together is what's gonna make a really successful grant application.
Sounds good to me.
I would rather identify the projects we really need instead of changing our projects to fit the grant. I'm not opposed, but. Matching our feelings with federal bacon, I guess. How do you feel, Peter? Adrian?
Well, some
Go first.
of what we had talked about being in this pot, in addition to the sewage treatment, relocating municipal offices, was housing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it's well worth investigating what we might be able to do to still, you know, carve out.
Yeah.
You know, just off the top of my head, I don't think the town ought to get into the real estate business or into the housing development business, but if there are parcels of land that would be suitable for future housing, it might behoove us for the town to purchase those properties so that they are available to a private or nonprofit developer further down the road instead of going off into some other use that doesn't serve the community. That's just an example. I don't know if I'm even right about that, but that is something. So there is that need that we have in Vermont, and if this funding could help meet that need, I said it already.
There were three big ones, right? They came to us about the sewage treatment plant was the number one. Housing and economic development, which in our case is that grocery store. And this might be the opportunity we just had a conversation of some big deltas, 15 million to make a grocery store work, but here we have 58 million that's for Washington County and Johnson zip code only. Like, if there's ever a chance to get a new grocery store, this might be it. If there's ever a chance to get more housing, this might be it. But I think understanding what the acceptable priorities are of the state, they did say they don't have a rubric. And so when you get a grant, normally you write your grant, you have a project in mind, and the project adapts to match the rubric for success. That's how you write successful grants. They did say they're not gonna have a rubric. So this is why I want to reach out to them and say, hey, what are your priorities? And then come to the board and say, these are their priorities, essentially their rubric, and say, okay, guys, figure it out. What do you want to do with this? But if we don't know that, we're just kind of shooting in the dark with ideas.
Reach out to them and find out.
Cool.
I want to make a couple of information. I think Tom was absolutely right about, you know, we met a little while ago with Power Associates. And they were pretty clear about some of their needs and whatnot, and you're right, there's a big delta between what they have available to do that. But to me, having a grocery store in Johnson's pretty important. You know, it's an anchor business in our community. I just think it's really important. So I think that is one that we should definitely be thinking about. I also just want to put it out there. We have a community economic development coordinator. It's my belief that Tom and Randall should work together on this, or it should, I'm not sure how that all works out, but to me, that's community and economic development 101, which we got a hired individual for. So
Absolutely.
we need to, big confidence.
Is it okay if I reach out to Randall and just set up a quick meeting to pass off my contacts and to pass it off?
Yes.
And Randall's a good grant writer. Not that you're not,
Both are very good.
yeah, don't want, like that, very disparaging comment at all.
No, that'd be good.
Okay. Next up, appointment policy.
Why don't we move that to the work session?
This is a work session.
But it's not really a work
The
session,
next one.
because it's been full of everything else.
It's really not a real work session, quick look at it,
Can I
where,
ask a favor? Can we delegate one board member to just work with me to get it closer? Because it feels like.
I don't have an issue with any board members just contacting you about questions, but if you wanna work only with one, how's the board feel?
Choose Mike.
All the time.
The only thing.
Take on that role too.
The only thing I think would need a little bit more clarity is the select board's role.
I really want to open up, make it black and white. Just these last couple of months has been really hard for me about posting, not posting, who's telling me the opening, who's not. Who's keeping track of our spreadsheet, who's not. And I just want to like spell it out once and for all, no losing.
This puts you in charge of the spreadsheet, so I think you can just take it over and quick release. I think, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, this is it. I mean, we have to approve it. But yeah,
Well,
like,
I'm saying if you already start handling it, the sentence that says this will be held and maintained by the town administrator.
it doesn't matter how, I just want to like black and white. For this appointment, because like, you have different committees coming to me and say, Tom, did you post that? And I say, I didn't even know there was an opening, and like, it's like, what is the role of the select board? What's the role of the committee? What's the role of the person who's interested in joining a committee? And if it's very clean and clear, then you could say, Tom, why didn't you do that? Right now, it's like, oh, wait, what? Okay, hold on. I have, and it's very juddery, and let's just clean it up, like, it's a little clunky, all we have to do is clean it up. So this is. Actually a year old, I have not. This is a year old. Yeah, and I wanted to, like, in the packet, I said, I want to like, just, do you have an appetite to change it? If you do, I want to let me change it, maybe work with the board to bounce ideas off, and then if you don't have an appetite and you like the current one, then I'm gonna not think about it.
I like where this one's going. I think it's clearer than the previous one. It's,
What are your thoughts?
um,
Do we wanna just send our thoughts to Tom, take this up at our next real work session meeting?
I like Mike's suggestion. I think we should all be prepared to do our homework. Get whatever comments we have to Tom and have a draft copy ready for signing. For our next work session meeting. Our next actual
work session.
meeting.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
All comfortable with that. Next up is the Jim Marvin Awards, and this is the part that's fun and no fun on being on the select board. The past couple of years, we have sent ideas to the chair instead of discussing them in open meeting, so it could be a little bit of a surprise for the recipient. But this board can handle it differently.
No, that's the way to do it, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Because what's the sense of
I agree.
discussing it in an open meeting and then the person knows they're nominated for it and everything else?
If anybody
Should be a
asks for the
surprise.
email as public record, they'll get it anyways, but. Are we all comfortable with that?
Mhm.
Put some thought into it, this is a precursor to the town report
The
dedication.
same way with the dedication to the town report. You don't
Have we
discuss
all-
that in an open meeting.
Have we always done both the community service and project design?
There's three. They're not,
Yeah.
I think there's two.
Well, there's two on, this is from LCPC's website,
Isn't-
there might be a different.
isn't there a lifetime
One-
achievement?
Lifetime achievement.
Expanded out.
That's not, they have often issued lifetime achievement awards, but it is not a specific.
Not a nomination.
It's only two.
Not a nomination.
Yeah, it's two.
We try to do the two for sure, and I think we've usually tried to recommend a lifetime achievement somewhat.
What often happens at the LCPC board level is they get so many nominations, so many good nominations for community service that they end up issuing a lifetime achievement award, but it is not a specific category.
Okay.
Is there any kind of a list of who we've nominated before?
Yes,
We went through this last year.
you can get that from LCPC.
LCPC has it on their webpage, I believe.
You have it in your email too. You just add to last year's name.
Yeah,
You all do it.
And also, I think for Project Excellence, the project is supposed to have been completed. So I don't know that the library addition or the library expansion is gonna be a qualifying event this year, it'll be next year.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will be this year.
but
Suggestions to you.
the remodel downstairs here
I'm good with that.
may apply.
Aha, yeah.
That's kind of rinky dink.
That's something. All right, so the board's gonna,
Resilience is big.
Hey, did you guys see they started ripping off siding today? Very-
so beautiful.
They get rid of those stupid shrubs.
They got it?
Next up is the local emergency management plan adoption.
I move adoption of the plan and to authorize Evan to sign on behalf of the select board.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion, I have some. There may be some addendums this year. But I've already talked to our regional management. Our plan is fine, but they're pushing towards like written agreements with the college for shelter and stuff. They're not requiring it for submission. So I'm gonna have to come back. to the board. I doubt any of you are overly worried about that. There's a motion in a second. I need to call the further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it?
Can I say something about Evan's role as the emergency management director?
No.
It better be good.
You know, every time I go to meetings where this comes up, Evan, you've always been congratulated for doing a great job. You have a difficult role here in Johnson and you're killing it. You're really, really good at what you do. And thank you.
You're here.
Thank you.
Next up, Velco agreement with MSI and for the Velco stormwater project.
Can you just not, can you also, in addition to the management, just figure out a way for us never to have an emergency?
I had a plan for that.
Okay.
It turns out that we're poor.
Ah.
I was gonna pump all the water back for more stuff. I was a big advocate for that. We never asked for it. I wanted to send it back.
You want a motion?
Tom has a suggested motion. To authorize the chair town administrator to sign the DEC co-op agreement. And MSI contract for the 3-acre stormwater public-private partnership, once the agreement is signed by Vermont Electric Co-op and authorized. The authorized and. Sign the MSI contract, but
Yeah, we already approved the MSI, isn't it?
no,
I
I
couldn't
thought we
find,
did.
I couldn't find a copy of that and their signature copy was April 15th.
It seems like whole business to me.
yeah, I thought we already
Yeah, we
approved the
already approved
MSI
it.
contract.
I did too, and then I went through and I couldn't find a copy, and then I emailed. The
Did you look at the meeting
engineer,
minutes?
well, the copy signed by MSI themselves is April 15th. Which is, we haven't had a meeting since, this is the first week since April 15th. So it's obviously not the right contract, it's been.
Yeah,
Maybe, I think you did authorize me to sign on behalf of the town if it incurred no additional cost. But I don't know if we saw the actual on the site contract.
So there's two things here, there's an agreement and an actual
So here's,
contract, what's the
there,
difference?
there is no motion yet, correct?
That's my understanding, still asking questions.
yeah, so this is a very unique and new to government situation. Where you have a private entity receiving public ARPA funds. But they needed a municipal pass-through, and so before my time, the select board authorized. Brian Story, I think, to be the administrator of those public funds, so. The federal government can't give money to a private entity, but they can give money to the town of Johnson, who then gives and then pays for the work on behalf of Vermont Electric Co-op. This benefits us because all of the stormwater leaving the industrial park goes through this very system. That's why it's a public-private partnership. So the federal government's paying for the stormwater at this 3-acre site. We have our industrial park that has to flow right into the same exact system. So that's why we kind of need this to do our industrial park, or we wouldn't need it, but it's beneficial to have it. The agreement with the co-op is. I had some strong concerns about. What happens if costs go over the grant amount, that the town of Johnson should not be responsible for any costs incurred by this project at all. And that we're solely an administrator of a grant and not, and yes, we're taking a lot of risk because. Bills come to us, we pay the bills, we go to the state for reimbursement. That's an enormous amount of risk the town's taking. I don't believe that we should also incur any risk for overages over the amount of the grant. And I also made it clear that that we should be reimbursed at either a percentage or the maximum amount allowable by the grant agreement for that administration cost. So if it turns out to be 10%, we should get 10% of their grant amount if it's available to pay us back, for that administrative services, right?
So is that in the agreement?
In the agreement, yes, exactly.
That was one question I had, because it's a blank. Right. In exchange, DOJ shall be compensated in the amount equal to blank percent of the grant, or the maximum amount eligible by the grant.
By the grant agreement, yeah, I think that, so it's
Or
like,
like, shouldn't we have a percentage in there?
well, I think the grant agreement was unclear, which is why it's in there. So right now, it's unclear whether we can even be eligible for it. But say the grant's $565,000 or $535,000. And so. At the end of the day, if there's $25,000 left and we can go to the state and say, hey, we would like this for the town of Johnson because it represents 5% of the project. We should be able to get it, the maximum amount allowable by the grant. So it kind of covers it both ways.
So couldn't we simply strike? In an amount equal to and simply say. To the maximum amount eligible by the grant agreement?
I am okay with any of these changes. We have a disagreement with Vermont Electric Co-op with some of the indemnifications about who's liable for what and this, that. I would not like to go back with more changes if possible. So if we do, can we just cross them, all 5 of your signature, initial or whoever, I just want to make sure that it's clean and like we're sending it back, I don't want to see it again.
But they basically agreed with this draft.
We have some disagreements on who's liable, and that comes from the advice of our attorney. They would like indemnification for any fault that occurs from this grant project, and our attorney, and I think all of us should also agree that no, we hold no fault. We're simply administering a grant. We do not hold any fault for any activity on that property.
They want their cake and eat it too.
And that's what we're not, that's why I do not want it to go back, because it's gonna fall apart. Like, let's
Is this
just,
different than the one from a long time ago, or is it the same?
Same one.
same grant, but this is a brand new agreement. This is like
But we have an old legally signed agreement where our lawyers reviewed. I'm certain of that.
There was a signed grant agreement.
there's a grant agreement.
We have, not with Momley, we have a roles and responsibilities legal agreement with the co-op from like 3 years ago. 3 years ago. It was like, Evan and I were like a year and a half into the board at that time.
The big rub at that time was that the co-op wouldn't give us a deeded right of way to hook into the system.
And we went back and
So we
forth
did
on
not
legal
sign it
agreement
until
on
they-
liabilities.
Until they had some written deeded right of access to tie the industrial park, stormwater overflow, blah, blah, blah.
That signed agreement should be in our public records. Maybe even
Has to
on the
be.
website, actually.
We need to have that before we go any further.
Was that drafted by Bob Fletcher?
Probably would have been Bob, yeah.
So, I mean, he's the one
I'd have to
who
look
did
with
this,
that.
so.
But I mean, we worked with like 4 different lawyers, so. Like, if he wasn't the only lawyer in that office, it would have been his office, yes.
Cause there are attorneys. And back to Duncan's question, I thought we already approved the MSI contract too.
I'm sure.
We did the big arduous RFP process, right?
There was an
MSI was
amendment in
a
price
little
change
bit.
that, right, their prices went up a little bit since the time of the grant, but it still was under budget for the grant. So maybe this is the reflection of that. Cause I went through and looked and could not find an MSI contract.
Well. And then we approved the issuance of the contract. To MSI, but maybe we didn't
I don't
actually
think the contract
sign.
was drafted yet.
Yeah, maybe we didn't actually sign. But, I'm sure we approved MSI as the approved contractor, but we may not have signed the actual agreement.
The best point, we shouldn't sign anything until we get that other stuff resolved.
So we have the easement here. Is this what you're talking? It's on the board. Is this what you're referring to? An easement?
No, that wasn't, it wasn't an easement, it was
Between-
related to the agreement of
Wait,
terms to the.
We're gonna need more info. I don't think we're gonna get all. of tonight.
All right.
I mean, looking at this now,
This agreement is mostly about protections, who's doing what, who's responsible for what. Who's liable for what, and insurance payment. I don't,
right, but like even those,
I mean, I don't. You know, it's been vetted. I don't know that it takes away from prior agreements.
well, even the payment. Right, cause they're expecting. 100% when they're done, but the co-op's expecting 10% retention for a year. Are we holding that liability for a year?
I think
Like
we,
$50,000 on our books?
we are we're gonna pay that probably immediately. We're gonna have like $300,000 worth of concrete. What do you call them, settlement tanks, so that 10% is gonna be covered in the first bill.
Didn't they mention retention?
Is that MSI or is that?
The co-ops. TOJ will administer the grant, TOG will maintain sole responsibility for financial management of the grant, blah, 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 blah.
A lot of work out of it,
TOG
let's just
shall not be
pass through.
responsible for costs. Blah, 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 blah. I thought there was something.
Well,
I know,
Maybe I'm thinking of a different.
not like that, it's something.
But you're right.
What?
Mike
lot
was
of work.
saying a lot of work for pastor.
Yeah.
And we are getting something out.
We weren't getting something out of it,
How's the
we wouldn't
board,
be doing it.
how's the board wanna handle this?
We need to find out. What the best point what she was talking about.
How time sensitive is this thing?
I mean, they're hammering me, cause MSI wants to get going. And I'm not authorizing MSI to do, I haven't authorized MSI to do anything because. Unless we have an agreement with VOC about the about the liability to the town, it's like we don't wanna once you sign that MSI contract, you're already, it's too late, the work's getting done, you're like committed to that.
I make a suggestion, when you get to the bottom of it, we have to have a special meeting to sign this, we can do that.
I think I wanna know specifically, I see this as a separate agreement to anything prior in the file here. And so what specifically do you want me to get to the bottom of? Because there's nothing in here that I see as, it's reducing liability, it's not, so by not signing, I guess that's my concern. What is your hesitation? You need to feel confident.
I guess if we already signed it, I don't know the wording of what we signed and how it's different. But that's just me.
I have no record of anything prior.
It was prior to you being with the town, so. How time sensitive, Mike says we can do a special meeting, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I
I
can
think
look-
you're
I can-
right, Beth, I think.
I can
think
look
you're
through my
right.
emails first thing tomorrow, Tom, and email it.
I have
The
the
full word.
easement and I have the grant agreement. There was a draft that they sent me in January of 24. But it raised all my flags and then that's why it's taken a year to get to, or a year and a half to get where we are.
No, nobody has a. I don't think anybody has a problem with how you handle it. I think this was like a predated
Yeah.
historical thing that.
Well. Okay. I'm okay with this. Special meeting.
Another meeting,
But I don't want to sign the MSI one until BEC's in place. I think that's putting us at risk.
yeah. Okay,
If everybody feels better, resolving a question about some older potential agreement, fine, but it seems like if this is current and it covers everything it needs to cover for both parties, I don't see the need to belabor it, but
What if
let's stop.
a prior agreement,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
So nothing stopping me from making a motion, but continue what you're saying.
what if a prior agreement is in conflict with this draft agreement? Which one controls? It's a lawyer's field there.
And they're more than happy to get involved.
Okay,
I'm not making a motion. You go ahead.
Alright,
You have access to Beth's email.
no,
Thanks, Beth.
Oh my God, how many times have I told you you
I-
get access for email?
I have
I do.
my email.
I think just getting. Yeah, it's knowing what's out there, I guess, does matter.
It should be in the TOJ administrator email too, actually.
It will be, but it's way back when,
Yeah.
You don't have any time difference.
before you were hired.
Okay.
Beth is right, it was like a year.
Sometime after 1910.
Before or?
Alright, next up is a website update.
So last time I gave an update on the website and, I thought things were going good. I gave a bunch of feedback. And they sounded like they could accomplish all of my feedback. But I didn't hear back for, till like 4 or 5 days ago from our last meeting. And they said that some of the things they were gonna have to have a like developer do pay an hourly rate. So, but I was confused because some of the things they already did on the website that I gave feedback on. So, Rosemary's not here tonight, but I wanted to know if like we had been charged for that already. And I responded back to them with concern about that, and I haven't gotten an email back. Overall, I kind of feel like the amount of money we're paying for this, I don't think the design matches that amount of money. So concerned about that, like, when there's just like so many limitations within this template they have, and I wasn't part of the decision-making process in choosing them, but I did think that when we chose them, that the template was just a launching point and wasn't going to be a hindrance on doing special design work to it. So, yeah, I'm overly, like, pretty concerned about it, and I'm like wondering if it's worth moving forward with them. Tom has the website up right now. I think like the
How come we
homepage.
didn't get an invite to it?
Oh, I can send you the link. It's
Yeah, I've
just
been seeing it for the first time.
yeah,
He was sent it to me tonight.
yeah. The homepage is generally fine. It's when you get into like the committee pages and the side pages that I think they just like look like a Word document and don't look like designed at all.
So is it design or function?
Both. I think that like with some of the functionality. I don't know. Like if you go to the beautification committee page. Go to the very bottom. I asked for there to be like an events calendar at the bottom, and then put like the full-blown calendar instead of just like a small events like on there. So that's just an example of like how they're so limited by like their template of being able to do certain things.
Can you click on list? To show a specific day or set list of events that's there. You know, I'm probably getting in the weeds here. I think we signed a contract, we went through a long arduous process and got a bunch of different. Quotes and.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember back, Charles Swan was here and he was talking about an engine and transmission and a shell of a car. And, you know, if it's, so I guess if the engine and transmission work, and a big thing for us was like committees being able to access it and have their own meeting minutes and everything, and
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, I thought that was like the engine and transmission. If that's there, I would like to see this to fruition, and if we need to pay for a little bit of development to, after a little while, people use it, we get some feedback, maybe. I would be behind it, but I think you're just asking for a generalized feel.
Yeah, because, well, so far as I understand, we paid 3,600 yearly, we're gonna pay 2,600, and then if we want any like development. Like done to it, it's gonna be like $150 an hour for a developer to make any kind of page changes. I don't know, I think it's kind of a crazy amount of money, and I understand the intention was for committees to be able to go on there and change their page and stuff like that, but if the page already like is crummy design and they're gonna go in there and change things, it's not gonna make it look any better, they're just swapping out photos and text. I don't know, it's my opinion, and Charles isn't here tonight, I did talk to him before this meeting, and his recommendation is that we follow through with our year of it, and then we could work on a website on the side. I've offered to design the website in Wix, and that we could switch over to that, either now or by the end of the year, whatever you guys wanted to do, but I'm happy to design that for free, and that would be like under $350 a year for a subscription to that.
And you'd be the administrator.
Yeah,
If you wanted to do that, you could just use WordPress. You're gonna get more functionality out of WordPress that we already have
mhm.
than you will out of Wix.
Yeah, I'm fine with either.
From a security standpoint, I'm not an internet designer, developer, anything.
Mhm.
I'm just like a dumb person, picks objects up and puts them over here.
Yeah,
I would like to see it to fruition and maybe let it marinate for a little bit. If you're still willing to do it for free 6 months from now, I may take you up on that. I just haven't really clunked around it to.
You know, I think we're hemorrhaging with this outfit, to tell you the truth. I know, it's no secret, I was never happy with it in the first place. And Adrian's got a lot of good points. She seems to think that, and you have skill in this type of thing anyway. And it's not as if you're some kind of a Johnny come lately and don't know what you're talking about. So to tell you the truth, I think, we need to stop hemorrhaging, like I said. And I would move that we terminate the contract with Town Web and check for any refunds. And go with Adrian.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Can I second if my name's in it?
Where's she can?
I'll second.
All right, further discussion?
I think
I
we're
don't
waiting.
think you can actually second it, it's a conflict of interest, if
It's $0,
$0, you're not getting.
right? You're not charging us.
Yeah.
It's a perception. of
Okay.
conflict of interest.
It's a perception, but, you know.
But how is it really? I don't think it's a conflict of interest.
She's basically offering to lose money.
Just free, which we all do. On the first Tuesday of March, we stand up there and beg to lose money
Yeah.
All right,
all year long.
so there's been a motion and a second, and we in discussion.
We're in discussion.
All right, so playing devil's advocate, I really appreciate the thought and offer behind doing this. There's two things that concern me. One is I don't think we should burn you out as a select board member, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to head down the road of burning you out big time. Second, if that happens, where the hell are we? Nowhere. So at least, you know, nothing, please don't take it personally, but at least with this entity, it's a known entity. We've signed a contract. I'm a little hesitant to go back on a signed contract, and I don't know how much we already paid out. And what,
400,
How much?
18 for the redesign and then 26 for the annual, so it's 4,400 total.
and we've already got a check for that.
That was.
Didn't you say that Rosemary spent $3,000?
So what are we gonna gain?
3,600.
We're gonna gain and we're not gonna spend any more money with them. You know, to your point about her burning out, the trouble is, Duncan, that we think is an older person. When you're that age, you don't burn out. Well, you still think is an older person because the deal is when you're that age, you can do anything. I mean, good grief, you think of, when we were that age, we could stay up all night long and have a bottle of Coke in the morning and get up and do a full day's work.
Absolutely, you take my point.
You just described my everyday.
What's that?
You just described my everyday.
Your everyday, eh? You're up every night and you have a bottle of Coke in the morning, get started.
Yeah, I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. All
right. Are we gonna call it here?
Uh,
Motion in a second. Do you have anything to add?
Do we really have anything to lose? Letting it play out. Get something for our money. And revisit it in, somebody said, 6 months.
May I speak, Mr. Chairman?
I-
We have plenty to lose, because she was just mentioning that if she had to do some other work on this that wasn't part of the scope, she was gonna have to pay $150, or the town had to pay $150 an hour to do it. And so that is a loss.
That's if it's out of scope work.
Well, she just talked about it, Adrian just talked about it was out of scope.
But presumably you'd come
Well,
back to
yeah.
us and say, we need to spend another $1,000 out of scope work, right? And you have an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, they
So
wanna
we've
charge
already
us,
spent it.
they wanna charge us to like move like a small thing down. Like, they wanna charge us to, move the news on the homepage to a different area of the homepage.
Which is if you were in WordPress, even I can do that tomorrow,
Yeah,
you know, or Wix, for that matter.
We have some questions from the public here.
So I would just argue that you've paid out money to somebody who has done work already. It is not gonna hurt anything if you're doing work on the side overtime and making a really nice site on a site we already own, we already have, it's already up and running. Even when you swap over the URL to this new site, you can still be working in the background on our existing site to make WordPress look good. You can make WordPress look good, and you can do coding in WordPress without paying an engineer a bunch of money to do coding. So I would just argue it doesn't actually hurt where you are right now. Let this run through the year and make something really strong on the backside while this is running.
Randall, you had something?
I have to say, I have really real concerns about the process. You know, this is a matter of process when you go through the process of soliciting bids, you know, you construct an RFP, you have people evaluate the RFP. You make a selection on the RFP, you solicit the services. Before the product's even fully delivered, you're already like wanting to just change gears. I just don't think that that's the way that town should conduct business. Honestly, and especially if it's just the review of one board member, you know, and their one board member's opinion about functionality of the site, as expert as that opinion might be, it just seems from a process standpoint, like, wait till the product's delivered, wait till the public has experience utilizing the site, see if the public has objections to the site and its functionality, and the committees have objections to the site and functionality. And if that becomes the case, then we can take advantage of this incredibly skilled and thoughtful board member that we have. But until that point, this just feels very herky jerky to me. It's just not a process that I personally would be comfortable with.
I think another concern I didn't mention was that this was going to be the final site. They told me that we were gonna have 2 more reviews after the first review. And then they emailed me and said, okay, so we're ready with the final site for you to review it. And I'm like, wait, we're supposed to have 2 more. So it's just been like really bad communication. I don't really trust them.
They did not, what was told in the because I was part of the preliminary committee, and I did not like this website, but things, you know, as we know, it was dragged out for a very long time. And so maybe I'm biased now too, but my strong concerns were, we were getting wishy-washy messages about what they can do and what they can't do. And I just think that's happening now. And this vote, I don't know if you remember, but it was rushed. It was just, you know, Charles came to a meeting when we were in the back and it was like, all right, let's just put this to bed. We have to finish it. But I think we were dragging it out too long. And one of the concerns I have too is that I asked several times to make sure, I personally feel, this is just me, I'm not a resident, I know. But I believe in putting money into our communities and into our state and into our country. And all of this money is going over to Romania right now. And that makes me that just like drives me a little nuts that they promised that, and I asked that several times in the bid process, I'm like, are you like, this is a little weird, and I kept having questions because things weren't lining up. And then now we have these meetings with people who are overseas and like, there's not like a language barrier, but it's just like, well, we could have been paying somebody in Hyde Park, or we could have been paying somebody in Johnson. Like, why are we sending thousands of dollars overseas when we have people right now who are fighting the same problems that we're having in our own homes of inflation and housing? And, you know, it's just like, we could have been helping instead, but now we're sending it away. And that's, I do agree with Randall's point. I think we rushed this decision. We're here. I think Beth has an amazing point too. This kind of runs a shadow website that allows us actually an opportunity that wouldn't be allowed otherwise. But we might want to be, I think we're stuck in the $1,800 setup fee, but I think if anything, we might be able to renegotiate the annual fee. And if you're ready in 3 months or 6 months, we negotiate that down would be the only viable path forward outside of seeing it for a whole year.
We had that concern in the beginning about this being overseas. And didn't they say that we were supposed to deal with somebody in the United States?
They did.
Which they're not.
Correct.
I think I'm gonna
So,
call a vote, but
Motion on the floor.
yeah, there's a motion on the floor. I do agree. I think Randall worded what my thoughts were a lot better than I did myself. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion.
Terminate. All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Made you the linchpin really quickly. You can just abstain. You know.
Abstain counts as a nay.
Well,
You abstain if dies.
but my question is, sorry, to still have a question. If we're gonna terminate this and we have paid out somewhere over $3,000, maybe we're responsible for the 1,800 setup, but how do we know we're gonna get any money back beyond that?
I don't know. And
we're probably not.
And I have concerns too that this is proprietary website and they never gave me a clear, I kept asking. I've been through two municipal websites transitions before this, and one of the things that you do is you create a copy of your existing website so that you always have this safety net. And your data is all protected, so as you do something new, you always have something to go back to, but because this is proprietary. Another big concern about canceling this contract is all of this work might not be able to be. We might not get any of this data, right? Like, so all this, which means. If we go with this company for a year and then we say, okay, we're done. Like, that year's worth of work might be really hard to take with us to a different.
All that information should have been in the contract that the board signed.
We're yaying and naying right now, Peter.
Okay, all right, I'm totally with Adrian and everybody else on the disappointment. But I think it's a mistake to terminate now.
So you're a nay. I don't think anybody's opposed to ideas. This is like one of those website update on the agenda and then proposing termination under emotions. I will probably never support something that quick. I just gotta have it like be involved. You know, not that I'm saying anybody did anything bad, just telling you.
What do you doing instead? Next time?
I mean,
Just make sure there's no reoccurring charges.
you could see
on
the
this thing,
packet.
That's all.
Adrian really hates this company and wants to terminate the contract now for this, and this,
Okay.
you know. I'm not saying anybody did anything.
Mhm.
I'm just saying my brain can't process that fast. I'm done. Slow.
Why are you done?
Or not. All right, next up is our representative for the interlocal assessors contract. This was an item that Duncan added.
Yeah, I'll try to be as brief as I can. So in our interlocal agreement, it requires us, each participating town, to appoint one member. To the interlocal agreement review committee. Our agreement with Justin is up on June 30th of this year, I believe. So we're trying to have a meeting in advance of that to hammer out any issues. It looks like there's gonna be the town of St. George wants to increase their number of hours. It looks like at least one other town wants to increase their hours, so he could, and he's suggesting that we may want to increase our hours from 8 to 10. The bottom line would be that would end up being a 40-hour week position. If all these communities decide to increase their total hours. I suspect that our total cost would either stay the same or actually go down if the other communities increase their total hours. But the basic question for us tonight is, I have been the person that's been the representative to the interlocal agreement. Do you want me to continue? The next meeting is May 8th.
Yes,
I will tell you that on May 9th, I am meeting with a surgeon to discuss options for neck surgery. So I may be out of commission after May 9th. Well, a week or two after May. So my suggestion would, I'm happy to continue doing it, but I think it would behoove us to have an alternate also be available in case one is needed.
I'll do it. Board cool with that?
sure.
So we'd like to craft a motion. Formalizing Duncan as our primary point of contact for the interlocal assessors. Contract agreement committee with me as an alternative.
So
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, Tom, payment buyouts.
So, the town of Johnson was awarded $5.627 million to. And approved all 16 buyouts to Johnson. This is huge.
Which does not include still on.
It's under a different program. I will get to that. But so all 16 applicants were approved and will be bought out. This is awesome. And you know, we had a meeting today to go over. Appraisals should be
completed within 2 months, so. These people who have been waiting for 2 years now, or almost 2 years, are gonna start to have some movement, and that's really exciting for them. And I think, they also, commented that Johnson was one of the easiest towns to work with, so. Going through with, we have one of the larger towns with the most buyouts, and we did a really great job getting through, and I just want to give a big thank you to Lauren and Sarah Henshaw, as she was instrumental in getting those applications in and helping, facilitating the state, so. This is a big win for Johnson, and I think a lot of people were really on edge and waiting. Sarah was out today contacting all the families, to let them know. One thing we do have to be mindful of is these transitions could happen pretty soon. And some of those buildings contain residents who are living as tenants, and some of these are also single family houses. And just, although the town might want to move through these transitions very quickly, I think the town should just be mindful to work with the current landowners to make sure we're tending to everybody who's currently living there. And just, just know that the process may not be 1 year or 6 months for all buildings. We might do a chunk of them that are vacant, and then some a little later after those residents have found homes. But just we might have to be sensitive to the timeline being different depending on who's in those buildings. But the fact that they were all awarded is huge. Yeah.
So just a point of clarification, two things. One is, do individual property owners still have an opportunity to say, no, I don't accept this?
Yeah, the property owners can say no right up until the closing, and the town can say no right up until the closing. And so this isn't a done deal until the transfer.
Okay, and the second question I had is. My understanding was that Vermont Emergency Management was gonna act as the agent for the demolition and removal and all, is that still happening?
Still the case, yeah, that was today's meeting. One clarification that I really wanted is they're covering attorney's fees. And so they've contracted with, it's out to bid right now to have an attorney handle all these transactions. And just, I wanted to make sure that that attorney was representing the town of Johnson and not the state of Vermont. Because if we use our current town attorney, it will accrue costs, but if we use this larger bid attorney, it won't. And that attorney will be representing Johnson in these transactions. It will not be representing the state of Vermont. Which is just for because that might see new names, just so you're aware of that. We did discuss, I remember you guys talked about, I came to you about recycling and saving some of the building products. And so I haven't sent that letter yet because I was waiting for this meeting, and the state is really excited about. We're like the driving force behind all the buyouts in the state for this movement to create, and so we've finalized some mechanisms maybe that we could save building products from going to the landfill in Coventry, which is really exciting. So thank you. You guys are making a movement that's affecting the whole state. So we recognize that.
We're recycling the buildings at.
The boards, I asked the board if I could write a letter on behalf of the board, and the board agreed that if we can save building materials, we should.
Mhm.
Right, so these materials in the building, if the landowner sells those windows, doors, heat pumps, whatever, that money comes off of the total award.
Mm.
FEMA has rules to make sure that people don't double dip. What we're doing is we're creating a mechanism of documentation which shows donation. So whether you donate to a neighbor or whether you donate to, say, Habitat for Humanity, doesn't matter, but it means that those materials can be saved from the landfill. If they don't have that documentation and those materials are there at the time, that amount could be reduced from the total amount awarded. So we're just kind of creating this new system, and Coventry is concerned with the volume of material that's going to come from these buyouts throughout the state.
All good stuff, and I just wanna put it out there
You
again,
done?
I'm leaving at 9:30,
I
period,
hear
end
you,
of discussion,
I hear you.
regardless of where we are.
We have some ground to cover, but next up, is Randall's report. And Duncan said we are under a time crunch. There are a couple of potential action items here. You can add, take away, correct me anywhere. The NEPA contract had a $5,000 line item for hiring an environmental consultant, which is not gonna be necessary. Which came up through the need a review process, I assume. And Randall's asking if it's acceptable to the select board for that money. Line item to be available for other areas of billing in the contract. The not to exceed amount for the contract wouldn't change. Do you need a formal motion for that or just?
It's the board's discretion.
I'll do it with a consensus, but it's in recorded meeting, so, but. Are you okay with that, Duncan?
That money, if I understand it correctly, was already in the spreadsheet that we.
It was already in the
had the full
contract.
funding.
It was a specific line item in the contract. It's not gonna be necessary, so they're having trouble meeting some other parts of the contract, so they're wanting to say.
I'm good with it.
Can we submit an invoice for $5,000 in other fees? That's not this, but it doesn't change the total amount that the town is spending on.
Yeah, you're good with it,
Yep.
Adrian,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Mike,
Fine.
Peter?
Yes.
I am as well. The other item. We're gonna handle the possible action items and then. I do have a couple of questions by report, but. Normally engineering did some out of scope work. And they're looking to submit an out of scope invoice for approximately $1,500. Is the board clear with that? I think you were good with your report. You kind of said, they need to let us know ahead of time instead of coming after.
Yeah, I mean, that was the conversation we had, which was. In retrospect, they acknowledged that we should have just said, this is out of scope, do you want us to proceed or not? Instead, in the spirit of keeping things moving and not bogging down, they just went ahead and did the work. And then somewhat reflected in the need to reallocate $5,000. They're just feeling like they're gonna have a hard time meeting this total contract number. And so that's their request. But they also acknowledge that it's on them. They could have and should have said it was out of scope. But I said I would bring it to you anyway for you all to decide,
Yeah.
How you want to handle it. So,
Key for me was the words you used, acting in good faith. So.
Are you comfortable with that, Adrian?
Yeah.
Duncan?
So the ask is to approve
I think they're gonna
$1,500.
up to $1,500.
they're gonna submit an invoice, right?
Yeah.
Do you want a motion for the $1,500? I figured they'd submit an invoice, we just sign it,
Okay,
but
however the select board wants to handle it is.
Adrian's okay
It's your prerogative.
with seeing a bill and signing it.
Okay.
Do you want to prefer a motion?
I'm fine with that too. I just would like to reiterate
Yes. The very clear caveat, do not do any out of scope work.
without getting prior approval.
Without saying, hey, this is out of scope.
Yeah,
Do you want us to proceed or not?
yeah,
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah. It's not that difficult. Again, if we had to have a special meeting to deal with it, we
Yeah.
could have. But I really don't like the idea of approving something, whether it was in good faith or not. And I understand that we've been trying to push them to get stuff done.
I agree,
But
I agree with you,
But you're okay with seeing an invoice,
but I'm okay with, yeah.
and you, Mike?
Fine.
So if we see one for $1,500 or less, I think we should sign.
Okay.
While we're on the industrial part. Has there been a lot of movement on that? Prime ag mitigation? And seeing if we could offset some land in the Gomo Town
there's-
Forest. I think originally we were talking about the Prindle lot, but maybe it doesn't have prime ag. I know on the original. Numbers from Lumley, they had 40 grand in there. For prime ag mitigation, or was it 50? I think it's 40.
and then they told us we wouldn't need to do it.
Yeah, and then we zeroed it out.
They had an initial conversation with the state where they thought that they were gonna be, they had filed, there's a certain number, I think it's around an acre or something where. It's called a de minimis impact, and they thought that was. That was the tea leaves they were reading, they thought that was gonna be okay. It's come back, that's not gonna be acceptable. And they are settling on a number of, the 2.6 acres. And however this formula works is that there's 2.6 acres that they believe are impacted, means.
It's double.
By the state's math, that means that you're gonna have to offset twice that amount somewhere else.
Or give us money.
Or give us $19,832, which I'm sure no one wants to do. At our last meeting, we did map out that there is that amount of acreage available at the Gomo forest, and it is prime ag. But this is not a thing that anybody can decide without, again, you or Peter had emailed me separately and asked me a question about the Conservation Commission's role in that. Again, this is not a thing that it's settled at any point. I'm just flagging it. There's gonna be a conversation with the state. There was discussion of the Prindle lot, but there's concern because the Prindle lot was also identified as potential offset for deer wintering. And it wasn't clear, they don't know the answer yet, but it is possible potentially that you could have it for both deer wintering and prime ag, but they don't know that yet. So it's still just a conversation.
Deer can't poop on agricultural soil. Right, is that how that works?
I find it very difficult to believe that any part of Princeton would be prime ag.
Yeah, maybe,
Well, did you know the skate park is prime ag? So you never know.
Have you ever been on the Prindle lot and walked it?
No, I'm just saying, I would have never believed that the skate park was prime ag, but
I can believe the skate park.
apparently it is prime ag.
Well, those are your first two action items. The next one.
So do you need something from us to have normally proceed with the 5.6 on the Gomo?
No, not at this point, because we're still waiting for official state determination. Once we get that official state determination, then it comes back and will be like an actual decision.
Yeah, no, we have to.
And the question I asked Randall was, what does that mean for the Gomo? You know, is this just something on paper that, okay, you know, we won't touch this 5 acres, or does it encumber Gomo Town Forest in any way?
It certainly encumbers 5.6 acres of it.
5.2.
Yeah.
But I mean, I presumably.
So we can't like build a parking garage on that 5 point. But does it
If you're looking to
negatively?
build a parking garage now, there you
The
go.
state of Vermont would actually get an easement on that 5.2 acres, which would prohibit any future development of any sort.
Isn't there a time frame?
I don't know, I think it's,
Easement in perpetuity?
I think the easement's in perpetuity. but Maybe not. I guess that would be a good question to have Mumley, come back to us and tell us exactly what the ramifications are of that 5.2 acres in terms of that mitigation. Please.
Not so worried about the parking garage, more worried about whether we can continue to bring the apple.
I don't think any of those kinds of things would be an issue, and it's a town forest and whenever, well, I don't. Never say never, but I was gonna say we're never gonna sell it anyway, so. But
Who knows?
who knows?
Randall's next question for the board, for good on the industrial park, is. BCRD. Whichever with his acronyms. Is looking to use the town as a pass-through account, for funds. For the recreation task force. Cost should be around $1,000. Could we get a motion from the board on this one, just sort of like clear and concise?
Did we already approve all the other? task
The
forces?
only other one that have come before us are Jasmine.
But we took their donations, I got to.
Yeah, I mean, we did that. Or we even knew it existed, but she came to us with a grant that we acted as a fiduciary agent for. Out of that conversation, found out that there was donations that were running to the town.
So I'll move that the town act as the fiscal agent for the recreation task force.
In accepting funds from BCRD.
Right.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Just to clarify, just to make sure that the motion is My understanding, and we have the co-chair here, my understanding, I don't know if the funds are gonna be dispersed to the town, to then reimburse the co-chair or the committee. Just to be clear, I think what the idea is that the co-chair will submit an invoice to the town. Town will pay that invoice and then VCRD will reimburse town. I think it's the mechanism that's being expected. I don't know that the money's gonna go in preemptively. Unless,
Yeah.
because I heard his motion, it sounded like that was the motion, so I just wanted to clarify that my understanding is not VCRD is gonna deposit a certain sum. My understanding is that the VCRD intends to reimburse the town for the expenditure.
Okay,
Do you know differently
So we
than
need
that?
to change that language, right?
nobody seconded it, so you can change it.
Okay,
You can just say accept reimbursement.
but we need to make a motion for the town to reimburse the chair.
No, we just need to accept reimbursement from DCRD.
That do it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's functionally the same, yeah.
Okay, so I move that the town accept reimbursement from VCRD on behalf of the Recreation Task Force.
I'll second.
Alright, there's a motion and a second, further discussion.
I'm gonna throw this out there because we've been through this not that long ago with other groups that wanted the town to act as a fiscal agent, and this board at that time decided they would not be a fiscal agent for entities that were not town sponsored entities.
I don't think you were at the meeting where we did it. I think I was the only one that's against it.
What was that?
We accepted reimbursement grant for the food access task force. As well as donations from businesses for the food access task force.
I may not have been at that meeting because I think I would have voted against it.
I
I
voted-
will vote against it. I will vote against this. No matter how good the cause is,
Yeah,
it's, in my opinion, sets a bad precedent. to-
I voted against it at the time because of the process, not because of the intent.
And I think it's one reason why we need to look at the whole question of committees. And possibly bringing these task forces under the.
Auspices of the town.
And I would have no problem with it. You know, acting, we wouldn't, in that case, we wouldn't be acting as a fiscal agent, we would be the fiscal. agent.
Exactly, yeah, but lacking that. I'm comfortable doing the wrong thing in the short term. So.
Yep.
And I respect.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I think we're just gonna call it. We can get the idea. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
Nay,
Nay.
All those opposed, nay, nay, I'm a nay, but you approved it last time.
Duncan has a good point.
Okay. Well, that was confusing. I think it's the process. Maybe we need to make them a town committee really quick, if they're willing to. Maybe we need the next month to have that committee meeting.
We're meeting at the last week of May.
Wow. That was really confusing. The only,
Could you clarify, please, for this co-chair of the Recreation Task Force? The conclusion that
that the town does not be a
town
financial
not-
agent. We're not saying don't get it, and nobody's saying it's bad cause, it's the liability.
There is a deadline for this, isn't there?
there was seed money available for each task force in the amount of about $2,000.
Now, if you came to us and said you had partnered with the Johnson Rec Committee. You probably would have got different.
There's no Johnson Rec.
There is no Johnson Rec.
But there could be. Very, very quickly and very easily.
What if Isabel came with the grant plus as the rec coordinator? Would that suffice if you manage that grant?
I think if it's done, from my perspective, what I think it's a great cause. It's not about the cause at all. It's about the idea of the town acting as a fiscal agent for entities. And, you know, we had, the Great Duck Race was one of the things that we had, that they wanted to act as a fiscal agent for. And there was the Halloween thing that they wanted to act, have the town, and I don't think that's what
I
we.
think I have to say I'm in complete agreement of keeping the task force and the town separate. I mean, I
It's your
think
choice.
one reason why I'm putting in the effort that I am in that task force is because it gives us an opportunity to do things to empty your plate. You know, and the last thing I want to do is turn our work then into your work. You know, I think that the advantage of the task force is we can dedicate ourselves to a project in a more in-depth way and more completely and not burden you with the extra tasks. And I fully agree that asking you to act as our fiscal agent then burdens you in a way that these task forces are not designed to do. I like keeping it separate. And I think we can look at other alternatives or ways to move the money in a way that the VCRD will be comfortable. I don't think that we have to go through the town.
Okay. That's good. Anything else on Randall's report? I'm trying to keep things moving a little bit and stuff because I'm a time constraint here. Thank you for randomly finding $30,000 for Legion Field.
Well-
I'm not saying it was random, I think.
No, what, that whole thing was the great mystery, it's just basically, ECF had contacted me and said, hey, we're looking to deploy some money in town. What's going on in town, who should we talk to, et cetera, et cetera, so I said, this group's working on this group's working on this group's working on that. ECF then took the ball and said, okay, we contacted so-and-so, we contacted the library, contacted Vermont Studio Center, we contacted the recreation director at the time, you know, et cetera, assessed for themselves, you know, whether they thought, oh, this is a good use of their dollars. And they did, and they told those entities, but for whatever reason, they never told the Legion Field folks. So I got a reporting notice from them, you know, like, no report, so I contacted the Legion Field people, I said, hey, what's going on with this $30,000? And they were like, what $30,000? Okay. So then I contacted VCF and I said, you talked to these people. She said, oh yeah, these were the two people who I just spoke with. And I said, okay. One of them doesn't even remember having a conversation at all. And they were like, well, now I'm feeling like I'm crazy. Anyway, the point is, the money's there, and I had left a hanging sentence there. I noticed it says there was the stakeholders or something, and then the sentence just doesn't exist.
A group of stakeholders.
Had a meeting. In fact, their first meeting was supposed to, if you remember, there was a meeting not too long ago where I walked in here, you all were having a meeting, I think it was right after Adrian was elected. And I was like,
where are they?
yeah, and they decided not to meet. Anyway, they had a meeting after that, and there's a whole bunch of folks sort of working them. The recreation coordinator is one of them, Howard Romero, all those folks are all kind of meeting, and they had inquired with me, what's the timeline, and et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, the money's there. They're gonna figure out a use for it, and they're gonna move forward. And again, as you know, they won't be able to make decisions without coming to you and saying, is this acceptable? Yada, yada.
Is this group a committee? I don't understand the system with the people.
Yeah, well,
They're not a technical committee, but they're all stakeholders of committees that are affected by that.
right, it's like the pizza people, the night live people, and the rec person are
Those
all
are real committees, but
kind of like collectively. So it may be another situation, to your point, maybe everyone needs a situation where you might want to make a formal declaration of what this entity should be called, or who's the decision maker within that entity, or how they make that
And
process.
who's gonna receive the funds?
Yeah, we'll have to run it for somebody. Any other questions on Randall's report? There are none. I think you had the industrial park next steps in your report, but that's our next item. I think it's just a standing item there. Did you have a chance? The next two items. I'm almost thinking we bump up for different reasons. You said that you were gonna have something for us,
It was my hope to build like I talked to Duncan about this, and I think, I haven't had a chance, I've been kind of, to be honest, I worked all day Saturday and Sunday, I've just been, but. I wanted to put together like a cost estimate of like what the fifth guy saves the town versus what it costs him, what costs the town. And I think, I don't have that yet. But I do think that this comes down to like there's no wrong answer, right? Like, and I think. It came to my attention that this sounded biased, and I apologize, it wasn't my intent. I think what I want to say is. That the board had a created public works a few years back. I think there was 4 guys, and then there was 4 guys, 2 part-timers, and then it went to 5 guys, 2 part-timers. Then it went to 5 guys, and I think part of this was for a lot of reasons, that it's all changed, and I think the past is important, but I think right now the question before the board is, do you want public works or do you want a highway? And if you want highway, 4 is probably enough for 42 miles. But if you want public works to do all the other stuff. Then it's probably, we need a 5th guy, and I think that's really, I don't have the numbers to say that is my problem, so maybe I think we also should wait till Jason's back from vacation. But I think there's a fundamental question to be asked at that time too, right? And that's really the baseline question. What do you want? Do you want highway or public works? And there's no wrong answer, right? And if you don't have public works, it just means that our committees are gonna build, just like, 99% of towns are just gonna build that extra cost into their grants and into their budgets. Through subcontractors, et cetera, whereas, now they don't, it's kind of fluffed into the highway budget. But again, it's no wrong answer, like.
I'll make a motion that we table this until Jason's here next time.
do you want a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Alright, you guys have it.
And I also want to make a specific request to Tom. That he. Do a survey of towns with similar number of miles. Of roads and. Find out how many employees those towns have for a similar number
I think that's a great,
of miles.
that's a really good factor to look at.
The other thing I think that we should think about globally is, if we do have a 5th person, we're spending close to $20,000 on mowing. Yeah. We have, the highway department is, they've come down to the municipal office to change the pilot, the
Hunter.
valve.
I did the last.
Really, really wacky stuff. So if we do go to a 5th employee, maybe we need to start thinking outside of the box a little bit in terms of what that employee does. Maybe there's room in our budget to do some of the things that we're currently having in the highway department do. But actually save money and, do it. So. Further discussion.
I think to your point about highway or public works, the word public works, it's just kind of like they're at the beckoning call of every committee in town all the time. Sometimes they taking care of their jobs and they should be working on roads or something.
Yeah, it's tabled. Cost benefit analysis and comparisons. All right, next up is the pickup truck review and award bids. I think we table this one too, but I think Jason needs to be here. I have a couple of questions. We're way above what we budgeted. Capital highway plan, but I don't understand why we need a 550 frame for a foreman's truck. I don't understand why we need a new sander and a new plow, and the crew cab, I understand, but I don't fully understand. I think we need more information here, because I don't even understand why it's that heavy spec. He's in a 1-ton right now.
Well, the deal is he's getting a much bigger truck for about $3,000.
This is, if we go with the lowest bid tonight, it's $30,000 more than we budgeted for. capital equipment.
Yeah, the Ford doesn't have all the right, I brought the whole bid. They don't have a trade-in or anything about Falcons, do they? Doesn't look like.
I don't know, it's after trading the email. So I don't really know, but I think more conversation.
We need more conversation, but I think he was looking for the truck from North Point.
And I have no problem going with a Dodge if he wants a Dodge. I'm saying, why does it have to be a 550? Why can't it be a 350?
It's like, not if you.
And what's the cost really of a crew cab versus a straight cab?
At the end of the day, I'd like to see us a lot closer to our capital budget plans. And we're $30,000 over for the cheapest.
I think there's $15,000 for a plow and sander. We really can't reuse the ones that are there.
Yeah, it's a
Smaller trucks.
14,000 for a plow.
How much for a sander?
Doesn't say. There's a body uplift for 15,500 and a Fisher plow. There's no sander.
I don't know. I just think it's more of a conversation topic and we don't. I understand ordering in 2 weeks delays things, but good things take time,
We don't have to plow hopefully till next October in November, so.
hopefully. Next up is the executive session for employee evaluation. I would entertain a motion.
We move, we enter executive session for employment evaluation in accordance with 1 DSA 313A3,
Inviting
Second.
Tom and Randall.
inviting.
Yeah.
And
And you second that?
I second
All right, further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
that.
All those opposed? We're in executive session at 9:16.
Recording stopped.
And if we're out here before midnight, we're doing great.